welcome to episode 174 of Coffee and Co-Read, your source for all things literary with Kristen
and Catherine, where we believe there's nothing better than a hot coffee and an awesome book. Join us for our virtual book club where we take one book a month and dive into all of the drama, adventure, and romance we can find. Hey, Kristen.
Hi, Catherine.
So, we're finishing up the entire Throne of Glass series today.
Yes, this is it. This is it.
And specifically, I guess, this giant-ass book. So, I guess it's kind of like, do you have any thoughts? I think my original thought was more, should any book be 1,000 pages?
Is it actually 1,000 pages?
My physical copy is 980 pages, and then the acknowledgements start. So, yeah. Like, okay. 20 pages off.
Okay.
She's long.
She is long.
So, yeah, I guess it's kind of a duel. Like, how did you feel about the book? And should it be this long?
So I guess, I mean, like, both of us love this book.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think there's any question. I will say that upon this read-through, I definitely noticed some tricky things that I didn't notice before. Mm-hmm. Just like in terms of Aelin being a piece of shit. Like, I noticed, I guess maybe like I noticed it before, but I didn't care as much.
Well, it's different when you're just flipping through it to read it and when you're having to pay attention as hard as you do when you take notes, I think.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know. I obviously still love it, and that's not going to change. Mm-hmm. However, it was definitely different reading it this time around than it was all the other times. Yeah. And I don't know, like, I don't feel the length in a bad way, if that makes sense. Like, I know that we complain about how long the book is in that it took us 2 months to do it, but that doesn't really faze me in general.
Yeah, I feel like especially the first time I read it, or like if I'm doing a read through, I do get through it pretty quickly. Obviously, This time it has felt dragged out, but I think that's just the nature of reading a book over 2 months. But it was like our episodes are just as long as they've been every other week, really. So it's we needed to break it down. If we tried to do this over 1 month, we never would have been able to.
No, and I do like. I probably actually appreciate it more than I previously did. Like, you know, everyone sort of, not everyone, I'm not going to say that, but if you've listened to us talk before, generally, you prefer this series. I prefer the ACOTAR series. Mm-hmm. But, like, at this point, after reading it the way we did, I honestly, I don't know if I could pick a favorite.
Yeah, that's fair. There were some things that popped up this week that I was like, oh shit, is something going to happen? Is there going to be another book? Because I do feel, I kind of hate to say it, because I like Nesta's book. Which name is that? Silver Flames.
Yes.
I could not remember. Thought it started with an F. Anyway, I like Silver Flames, but I do really think that series was a trilogy, and then it was popular, and it was like, okay, now we're going to throw in, and it does really, obviously, change genres from the trilogy to Silver Flames, so it is a bit different, but I worry that there will be more books in this series, and I'm not overly excited about that. Which we kind of talked about before.
Yeah, she kind of did leave things open to interpretation, I guess. which, like, and when I say open to interpretation, I mean, like, she purposefully seemed to leave some things unsolved.
Yeah.
Right? Like the whole thing with Vaughn. The fact that he exists out there, and we haven't seen hide nor hair of him.
So funny.
Ever. So, like, you know, that's a little something. And then, I don't know, just the whole, like, I don't know, just some of the things that were left off at the end were just sort of like, oh. Like, they mention things at the very end, and it's like, what? You're just gonna leave it there?
Well, yeah, and there's something that, like, I honestly didn't faze me in the first few read-throughs, and then this time I read it, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, this opens up 10,000 more possibilities, and I'm a bit worried about it. But, yeah, like I always say, like, and I feel like you're the same way. We'll read anything Sarah J Maas writes, because we like her writing.
Yes.
So, like, I'm sure I'll like whatever it is that comes out. This book kind of does have, like, its happy ending, and you're like, everybody is happy.
Yeah. It summed everybody up. So, like, we don't really need much else.
Yeah. And if there is more, then I'm worried that people are going to die. So.
Good point.
Especially since people do complain about that. And, like, I understand their complaints, and I think we talk about it often. I don't really know how I feel about it, because, like, on the one hand, it's like, it's not realistic for nobody to ever die.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's fantasy. What the fuck do you mean realistic? For one thing.
Yeah, like, we're reading about fairies and magic.
Yeah. And also, she's a romance writer too. Like, she writes romantasy. It does have happily ever afters for the characters. So, like,
yeah, it's like one of the key elements of a romance novel is that it has a happy ending. How happy of an ending can you have if, like, half your characters die?
Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like if you start disliking that, then maybe it's time to, like, take a break and start reading a different book. Because there are a few deaths in this book, and there were, when I first read it, I think I cried at all of the, well, not all of them, but I cried at the deaths that we've seen, like the 13, and then I think I even cried at Gabriel dying. So, yeah. Still of two minds about it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a long ass book. But
we like it.
We do. You kind of need. I even feel like she might have been able to, like, break it up into more than one, but then it's like, how many books do you need in a series? And if we had to wait, I would have died. And where would you have, like, cut it?
Yeah, it's a good point.
There's a lot of points of view. We do talk about that a lot, and it comes up a lot this week too. Of, like, switch.
Oh my god,
switch.
The point of view is holy guacamole.
Yeah.
Gets intense.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's our chat. This is the book we're finishing. And that's where we are.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a very deep chat. We didn't really talk about very much, but hey.
We talked about this book.
Yeah,
And now we're going to talk about it again for another 2 to 3 hours.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's what we do.
Enjoy.
So, as always, a heads up, it's not a spoiler-free zone. Things might get saucy. So, this is our last week with Kingdom of Ash and Throne of Glass series until SJM comes out with another book. So, it's week 9, and we're doing chapters 109 to 121.
Woo!
So, luckily for me, last week, everyone came together. Everyone is in the same place right now.
Yay.
There are a million different points of view, but everybody is in Orinth, or near Orinth.
Yeah.
So, Aelin joined the battle. She was badass. She's best kind. She took down some siege towers. She met up with Lysandra and Ansel.
They just started kicking ass together.
Yeah, we loved it. Nezra and Sartak and the Rooks are in the sky, fighting. Aelin wanted to fight with his father, and then his father was like, "You accept me? I'm gonna go kill myself."
Yeah.
So that sucked.
Yeah, it was really bad timing.
Well, yeah, I just like Aelin kept saying, like, he could have just fought with him. He could have pushed them back. He didn't have to kill himself.
No.
And it's like, not for what? Because, yeah, he did close the gate, and Aelin got to, like, not fight. So he got a bit of rest, I guess. Did he, though? No. So it's like, why did you do that? Irene and Aelin, I guess, got flown to Orinth on the Rook. KoA and Dorian are on their way in the gate, and so is, like, the majority of the army. I think that's... Oh, and Manon is still, up fighting. All the Iron Teeth.
Yeah.
I think that's mostly everybody. So, this week we kind of start with KL's point of view, and he and Dorian are racing in through the southern gate, and it's night soon, and there's darkness from the army behind them, and Dorian is, like, slouching, and he's like, "I know a king shouldn't slouch," and KL's like, "You look how I feel," and he's low on magic, and he doesn't know if it's because he's overdone it or Irene's overdone it. I'm like, this ain't good.
Wait, what? KL doesn't have...
No, he doesn't know if he overdid it or if it's because Irene has used a lot of...
Oh, magic. You mean he can't walk very good?
Well, he's on a horse.
Right, so he's good. Also,
he's I just say... shitty, I guess.
Can I just say, though, I feel like Dorian needs to read the room.
About what?
About, I know a prince shouldn't slouch, however... I'm like,
yeah.
Dude, we're in a war, man.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like...
He might have even said king.
I feel like...
Yeah, it's like, you're allowed to slouch in war.
Yeah, I feel like Mushu in Mulan, when he's pretending to voice... This is going to be super specific detail, guys. So, in Mulan, there's a part where Mushu gets a soldier outfit, stuffs it full of hay, and gets on a panda to deliver a letter so that Mulan and her army can go to war. And he delivers them this fake missive saying, "We need you at the front." And the guy that he delivers the letter to says, "Who are you?" And he goes, "Who am I? Who am I?" Like, or something like that. I can't 100% remember. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. But he goes, "We're in a war, man!" And that's just how I feel. But in Eddie Murphy's voice, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
Anyway, so that's just how I feel. I feel very like, we're in a war, man. Like, no one cares if you slouch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just very much a, come on, dude. Like, read the room.
Yeah. Like, KL's actually unable to walk right now.
No one's gonna call you out.
On slouching.
Ugh. Fucking KL.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then they hear a warning horn, and they know that Morath... So, there were two armies. So there's the one that they were crushing between everyone that was already fighting and the new army.
Yeah.
Aelin's army and the Coggins and all of that. And then another army showed up behind them. So the new army that showed up behind them is now, like, rushing them so that they don't have time to rest. So there's a warning horn. So they know they need to turn around, and the Coggins army turns around from, like, escaping through the southern wall, and they go to fight. They still stay within the wall, though, but they're, like...
I don't understand this layout at all. Like, I don't understand it.
Me neither.
It's fine, but I don't understand it.
I agree. So we go to Aelin's point of view now, and she and Ansel are just stopped outside of the southern gate, and Ansel's getting healed by a healer because she can't even, like, lift up a sword. Her arm is so injured. And Aelin is down to the dregs of her magic, and I'm like, already, girl. Like,
yeah, they made a bad decision there.
Yeah. And she doesn't even have energy right now to get herself inside of the gate because she's just so exhausted, which is also like, oh god.
Fair.
And yeah. And she at least knows that Rowan and Fenrys and Lorcan are alive because of the mating bond and all of the blood oaths. So she doesn't know, like, if everyone else is okay, and she doesn't really want to know yet because it'll distract her. The army's approaching, so she stands up and she starts to sway, but she gets like a Dargan soldier to stop and take Ansel through the gate. And Aelin just turns to the approaching army, and she knows that she's, like, doomed everyone. And I think it's super interesting that, like, she doesn't walk through the gate in this moment. Like, she's keeping herself back from it.
Yeah.
Like, she's not letting herself go that final step to home. So she thinks that she needs to adjust the plan. I'm like, what's the plan? I don't know what the plan is.
I wish I knew what the plan was.
I know. I always want to know what the plan is. So she scans the sky for a hawk, but she doesn't see any sign of him, which she's kind of like, that's good. I'm like, okay. And she thinks she returned here for this moment, so she whispers her story, like, one last time, basically. She thinks, once upon a time, in a land long since burned to ash, there lived a princess who loved her kingdom.
Oh.
So she's getting ready to do something. We don't know what it is yet. So we go to Irene's point of view now, and she's taking a little break from healing. And she's with a lead, and a lead sees who we can tell is Darrow, but Irene doesn't know that yet, and goes up to him, and they can see the army advancing now. And they know that, because I guess they're at, like, his towery spot where he watches everything. So they can see that they're basically screwed with this new army coming. And Aelin tells Darrow that they can't face them and walk away, and they can just feel that Erawan is here. There's a flash of light, and the child with Darrow turns and sobs, and a beautiful woman is there, and Irene is just like, oh, this must be Lysandra, which is just kind of funny.
Amazing. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. But it's like trying to keep track of who knows who and, like, this whole stuff, because, like, obviously we know it's Lysandra, but it's funny when you have so many points of view, the different stuff you need to do. And then Aelin tells Darrow that Aelin and Rowan sent up an order to evacuate Orinth. And as they're looking out at the field, they see two figures appear walking at the front of the Morath army. And it's Erawan and Maeve.
Avi.
And they're like, oh, shit. So Aelin asks about somewhere for the children and the elderly to escape. And he says that there's no time. But Lysandra just asks where it is so they can try to save some people and try to save Evangeline. And it's like, yeah, that's the smart move.
Again, straight out of Helm's Deep.
Oh, 100%.
Like, that exact thing happened in Helm's Deep.
Yeah. Girl, if you
Sorry.
think we're not diving into Lord of the Rings in this episode multiple times, you've come to the wrong podcast.
I wonder how I didn't see it before.
I know.
Like,
I
it
didn't
is
either.
so obvious how similar it is to the second Lord of the Rings book/movie.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'm
wild.
shocked that we didn't notice it.
Yeah. I don't understand how. Because this time it's like, oh, this is Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
So then Evangeline points out that Aelin is walking towards Maeve and Erawan. And everyone just turns to her. And Lysandra just, like, lets out a sob and says that Aelin has no magic left. She has nothing left. And Aelin lifts her sword and her shield, and they're both covered in flames.
I'd like to know how Lysandra knows that.
I guess they fought together for a second. Like, maybe she left her to go to Evangeline and already knew. I don't know.
Okay.
That's my guess, but based on very little.
I'll take it.
Thanks. So then there's a cry. The queen came home at last. The queen is holding the gate, which is like super similar to when Lysandra was the queen. I'm like, oh, yes. Is Lysandra getting PTSD from when she was stabbed?
Well, I wonder, like, what about all of the, like, what if the soldiers are like, is that Lysandra?
Yeah.
Again.
Except for the fact that she actually has fire now. But, yeah, they could easily just be like, I don't believe it. Can't really blame them.
No.
So, we go to Aelin's point of view, and she just thinks that her name is Aelin Ashriver Whitehorn Galathinius, and she will not be afraid.
Super long last name.
My God, right? Would not want that.
Can you imagine putting that on, like, any official documents?
Or even, like, if you're a teacher and you have, like, your Mrs.
You may only address me as...
Yeah.
That
she would
suck.
immediately become AWG. Mrs. AWG.
Yeah.
So she's approaching Maeve and Erawan and the army, and they stop to meet her. She thinks that, like, she knows she doesn't have any magic, but they don't know that. And she's not going to let them take another step. So she angles Goldrin so Erawan, like, sees it and remembers it. And Maeve just says, shall we, to Erawan, but he hesitates. And she knows that, like, Aelin thinks to herself, like, she's only here to give her people time, I guess, to flee, if Darrow decides that he's gonna show them how.
Yeah.
So she makes a crown of flame and, like, puts it on her head. It appears on her head. She doesn't, like, make it in her hands and then lay it on her head. But she just hopes to buy time to take one of them down as she dies. And she thinks she won't be ashamed to go to the afterworld and see her loved ones. So she's really thinking, like, this is the end.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, because she's my favorite. So she says to Erawan that they've met before, but never in their true forms, and, like, winks at him. And she's got, like, all of her bravado, and, like, she's keeping all that up. Mm-hmm. And she says, as pretty as his form is, she misses Parrington. Which...
Why?
It's just funny.
It's just weird.
I think she's just making a dig at him. I know. But I just think it's also a reminder of, like, oh yeah, he was Parrington.
Parrington existed as a person.
Yeah, I forgot about that guy. He sucked. Which is funny, because we never really get into the fact of, like, what kind of person was he. Because we kind of delve into the fact that, like, the king is different.
Yeah,
without
no,
the
that's true. Yeah.
So it's right. Like, shouldn't we care about Parrington?
No.
Nah. Fair enough.
Moving on.
So Erawan asks if it was fate that they didn't recognize each other. And she says fate or luck, since this is far more worthy setting for them to, like, have their battle. And Maeve is super impatient, and Erawan is just like, it's fine, she's just buying time. But she says that the keys are gone, and the gods are gone. And Erawan already knows this. And I guess, like, I don't really know how he knows.
Maybe he felt it?
I know that he knows that I guess, and I know he knows that, like, his key disappeared, but, like, I just don't get how he knows that
all the keys are gone.
The keys are, like, back in the gate. Like, yeah, maybe he felt a shift in the world or something. Is that Lord of the Rings? You can feel it.
Oh my God, that was so fucking creepy.
Sorry.
No, in a good way. I didn't hate it.
Yeah. But anyway. So Aelin tells Maeve then that it was a favor because, like, that was really Maeve's whole thing is she doesn't want her husband to come across. We know that's true.
Yeah.
Like, Erawan doesn't necessarily know it's true, but we do. And Aelin says that the gods were going to take him, but she wanted this confrontation with him. And we're like, we know that's not true.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your bravado.
What a bold-faced lie.
Yeah. So Maeve asks her how she survived, because obviously Maeve knows that she was supposed to give all of her power. And Aelin says that she learned to share. And we're like, kind of. You kind of learned to share.
Yeah, not really. More, yeah. You know, you had a nice grandma, great-grandma.
Yeah. Yeah, or you would have been left with no magic at all.
Yeah.
So, which is so wild. So then Aelin asks them if they plan to, like, share power now that they're both stuck here. Like, is Maeve going to go back to where she was? Erawan was going to take over everything, so what's going to happen now? And she also says that Maeve has been collecting healers specifically to banish Erawan and to protect herself from Val.
Not a lie.
Yeah. And Maeve is kind of just trying to shut her down, and they go through this kind of a bit where Aelin's really trying to sow seeds of...
Yes, trying to separate the two.
Yeah. And Maeve is just like, she's lying. She's trying to buy time. Don't listen to her. So Maeve says she's heard enough, and Erawan says that he hasn't. And Aelin says that she learned a lot as prisoner to Maeve, and she asks if Maeve is going to share her secrets about world walking. And she can tell that Erawan is starting to, like, doubt Maeve, and I'm like, immediately, like, this was such a terrible alliance if it's this easy to get them to turn on each other.
Right? But at the same time, I do think that was sort of the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Maeve was also ready to betray Erawan at the drop of a hat, like, not 5 minutes ago. And I mean that sarcastically. I know it wasn't 5 minutes ago, it was like a couple weeks ago when Dorian was there, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, she's doing all this for her own gains.
Yeah.
So we kind of get into that. Aelin asks Erawan what Maeve said when the key went missing. And she tells him that Maeve actually was working with Dorian to get the key. And Maeve is just like, you're lying. And we all know she's not. And Erawan is just like, maybe she is lying. And then we get like a kind of, I know Maeve is trying to change the subject or something, but she just goes like, Aelin, did you know that your parents and Marion were killed by a lowly Valg prince, and like it wasn't even the king, and it wasn't even Erawan? And it's like,
yeah, she's trying to get
under her skin, but it's like,
yeah, trying to get her like back on topic or something.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know. They're still gonna be dead, and it was his fault that they're dead. He ordered it, even if he didn't do it himself. Like, I don't really know what she thought that would accomplish, because Aelin's just like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, not in a bad way either. She's just like, yeah. It just feels very... Maeve is clearly grasping for straws to change the subject and make it not about her.
Yes.
But it did feel... It was like, it didn't feel out of left field by the author, but it was very much like, oh, Maeve, this is not going to help you. Aelin tells Erawan that she feels sorry for him because he's going to be shackled to Maeve. And Maeve cuts her off again, and Aelin says there's nothing to stop them. So, like, she kind of admits that they have this field. Like, their new army that just got here, like, they're going to beat them. And she's like, there's nothing else here to stop you. And they're like, well, yes, except for you. Which I love. And then she's just like, oh yeah, and there's about 200 healers in Orinth that might be upset that you forgot about them. And she says that, like, she's watched them expel Valg. So we're kind of letting them know that she knows that healers can heal Valg. And that there's a bunch there.
Yeah.
And
it's
she
like,
tells Erawan that... Basically, yeah. And she tells Erawan that he should have done a better job of going after the heir of Silba because she's here waiting for him. And...
I don't know how I feel about that.
Why?
I don't know. It just feels a little, like, baity. And I guess that's the point, maybe, but, like, it's like, oh, maybe don't put her in too much danger.
Yeah, if you're not going to have that chat with her beforehand about if she's going to do this, then maybe shouldn't be like, she's here waiting for you.
Yeah.
Because she's not, like, she's not really ready for this fight. Yeah, I get what you mean. So yeah. She then says that Maeve knew the healers were here and that was her plan, and, like, she's hoping that they get rid of Erawan. And then she asks where Maeve's owl is, because it's come up in, like, most of the times we've seen Maeve, there's been an owl on her throne, and we've kind of, I guess, learned when she went to Morath the first time, or the only time that she went there, but when Maeve went to Morath, that it's a healer who's bound to her, and she keeps her.
Which we also get, like, nothing about.
What happens to her? No.
Yeah.
But it is pretty cool that, like, it's just in all of the books, and when you go back and read them, you're like, oh yeah, look at that. There's an owl there.
Yes, there was an owl there the whole time.
Yeah, it's just one of those fun things. And then she says that Maeve made a deal to spare the healers to take care of him, and that she's going to, like, be ruler of all once this is all over. So Maeve cuts in that she's lying and asks to speak to Dorian, which is, again, I think, just throwing something out there to see if they'll change the subject.
Yeah.
And Erawan is doubting, and Aelin knows now, like, this is up to Irene, what's going to happen, and she hates to ask her, even though she didn't, but she trusts her friends and family to see it through when she's gone. So this is really her suicide mission here.
Yeah. She doesn't think she's going to live.
No. So Maeve asks if she's happy with her idiocy, and she says, God, she'll be happy when she wipes her off the earth, and Maeve said, there are no gods. But then Aelin says she is a god and unleashes her magic, which she has none of, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, she doesn't have any magic.
So we go to Rowan's point of view, and he pried the iron out, and then he's just running towards the gate, and he's just hoping he'll heal soon because he knows he can't fly with a big old gash in his arm, because then one of his wings will be...
A gash, yeah.
A gash. And next to him, a siege ladder comes up, and soldiers are, like, coming over, and Wyvern are dropping soldiers inside of the gate around Orinth. And people are screaming, and he thinks, like, this is his home. And he can see that Aelin is out there fighting. He can see her flames. And he knows she can't have much left. And then Fenrys and Lorcan come to fight with him. And he thinks, like, he made an oath to these people. He can't leave them. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Even this read-through, like, I've read it before, obviously, but I completely forgot that he decides to help people before he goes to Aelin.
I think it's because that was the order that she gave them as her cadre, right? She said, protect the people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So I think it was just him being like, this is what she would want me to do.
Yeah. And it 100% is. I just completely forgot that happened.
But yeah, like, he's just not present at all, and it's like, your wife is dying, sir. Well, not literally dying, but, like,
well,
she's not doing great.
No, and yeah, he could be super helpful. He's her
Karen M.
Thank you. So, after that word I didn't remember, we go to Elid's point of view, and she's watching the armies, and she can see Ilkin, and she knows that, like, all of the horrors from Morath are here. Like, they are fucked. and she doesn't know where to look, at the armies or at Aelin, who is fighting against Maeve and Erawan, even though she has no power. Which just keeps coming up, but we have to keep saying it.
Yeah. They want us to remember. She gave up her
so
power.
that we know that she's gonna die, yeah. So Aelin's all alone out there, and Aelin is wondering, like, where is her cadre? And Aelin thinks, like, she doesn't have a god left, but, fuck, I forget her god's name. Doesn't really matter.
Elides?
Yeah.
Begins with an A.
Aneth.
Mm-hmm. Enieth, yeah.
Enieth, yeah. So she always
Is it Eneth?
I don't know.
You've listened to the book. I have not.
Aneth? I can't remember.
Sorry.
I think it's Aneth, but
I keep interrupting you.
It's fine. That's the point. It'd be really bad if it was just me talking by myself. So she thinks that, like, Aneth always tells her to look. So that's what she does. So she knows that Aelin can't kill them. And only Irene can, like, get rid of Valg. So she makes a plan. And, like, we have gone through the whole series kind of being like, Aelin is super smart. She's really good at figuring shit out. And like, I do like this.
She's good at manipulating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's her first scene that we've seen her in. Like,
yeah. I'm surprised she didn't think of this earlier.
Yeah. So we go to Nesrin's point of view now, and the Ilkin are attacking the Rook, and they're vicious, and Sartak is telling them to use, like, their flaming arrows, and she hits an Ilkin, but then the Ilkin plays dead, and when a Doggin soldier? That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I know.
When one of the horse soldiers tries to...
The clip-cloppies.
One of the clip-cloppies tries to finish the Ilkin off, he like, goes after him and kills the horse and kills the soldier. So they're manipulating them as well as just overpowering them, and it's not good. And then there's the Valg princesses, who are spiders, and they're just waiting. So she, like, is trying to keep her eyes on Sartak because obviously she loves him. But this is their last push. Like, they are desperate. Everyone's fucked. Basically, that's what this is going through. It's like, let's see everyone's point of view as they all tell us that Aelin has no power, she's going to die, and we're all fucked.
But, like, do you understand why I feel a little bit fatigued by this? Because, like, this has literally been the storyline for, like, 300 pages. You know what I'm saying? Is that, like, Orient is being attacked. Oh, we're so fucked. And then there's a Hail Mary at the end. Oh, we're saved. And then, oh, no, we're fucked again. Oh, no, we're saved. Yeah. Oh, we're fucked again. No, we're, like, oh, my God. Like, the first time was with the Mycenaeans. Or, no, not the, it was even before that. They the Fae managed to, like, freeze the river and, like, cross it. And, yay, Hail Mary. Then Rolf saved them with the Mycenaeans. Then they were back in Orient. And then they were about to die, and then Manon showed up. And then they were about to die again, and then, Aelin showed. No. Something else happened.
The 13 sacrificed themselves.
13 sacrificed, right. 13 sacrificed themselves, and that gave them time. Then, like, eventually Aelin... Murtaugh sacrificed himself. Then Aelin finally shows up, and it's like, yeah. And it just feels like over and over again, we've got, oh, we're up shit creek, we're gonna die, and then, no, we're not, psych, we're saved. And it's just sort of like, I'm getting fatigued with that same storyline now.
Yeah, I get that. I do think, like, this part of having to go through every point of view of the exact same thing does get a bit tedious. Like, we go through Aelin's point of view, then Nesrin. Eventually we're going to get Manon's point of view of how fucked she feels like they are. It does feel like we know.
Yeah.
We know that Aelin has no power. We know that they're overwhelmed by Morath's army. Like, I don't know. And I feel like I didn't really notice it in the first read that they really are going through everyone's point of view and telling us how fucked they feel. And maybe it was because I was reading it faster.
Yeah, and we were into it, right? We were like, oh my god, Aelin, no!
Yeah. But yeah, now it's just like too much.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you have approximately 1,000 points of view in this book. Like, there are so many. So I get it. On that note, we go to Irene's point of view. And Rook Lysandra brings her and Aelin to the wall near where Chaol and Dorian are fighting. And Chaol just looks at Irene and is like, go back to the castle now. And I'm like, shut up. She's here for a reason.
I know.
I do understand. Like, obviously she's pregnant. She's their biggest asset against Erawan. Like, she shouldn't be out here. But what's she supposed to do?
I know. You still want to be like, she is an independent woman. Let her live her life.
Yeah. But she tells Dorian that they need him. And Chaol tells her again to get back to the castle. But Dorian just comes over. And he sees, I guess, like, he's on one side of the wall. And then he goes up to where they are. And he sees Aelin. And he's like, but she has no power. And I'm like, oh my god, guys, we know.
We know.
And then Chaol kind of like pieces together that they're like what they're planning and just says, no, you can't. And Aelin just tells them the plan. They don't tell us the plan. They tell them. So he says that she can't again, and she tells Chaol that, Irene tells Chaol that she is his joy and her husband and her dearest friend. And I guess he takes that to heart and, like, thinks for a bit, and he tells her to go save the world. And he tells Dorian to keep her safe. And Irene just thinks, like, that's probably the only order he's ever given the king, because he's a king.
Oh, fuck off.
I know. But Dorian just says that he'll keep her safe with his life. And then the three of them leave on Rook Lysandra's back.
Well, I mean, I suppose he would. He wants to marry her, apparently.
I know. It's so... so odd.
So weird and awkward.
So weird and awkward.
It's fine, I guess.
So we go to Manon's point of view now. And she and Abraxos keep fighting. And she thinks, like, the queen came, but it wasn't enough. And they're all gonna die. That's it. That's her check-in. She's fighting, but they're fucked.
Oh, that's nice.
So we go to Lorcan's point of view, and he can feel Maeve is here. Like, I guess he can feel her power, and he recognizes it. And he's actually fighting near Aelin, and he's thinking about, like, how he's fighting, and clearly the way he's fighting is showing his grief. And I think it's just to let us know that he knows that Gavriel is dead. And it makes him wonder who out of them is going to die next. Because, again, they're all fucked.
Wow. Jeez, that's,
it's
quite,
a lot.
It's quite dark.
It is very dark. So he can see Aelin's fire disappear and thinks, like, she must be crazy to try this. And Rowan stops fighting for a second. And Lorcan is, like, I guess, next to him. And he throws a dagger to stop someone from attacking Rowan because he just stops fighting. He just stops doing anything. And it's like, Rowan, what the fuck is wrong with you? But, you know.
Dude.
And it's not the time to space out. So Rowan just shifts. And Lorcan realizes it's time. And he looks over to Fenrys. And Fenrys shifts. And they go towards the gate. And Lorcan looks towards the castle. And he says farewell to Aelin. Like,
as in I'm going to die now. Bye.
Yeah. And he thinks that he's going to fight the Dark Queen, who is threatening all he hoped for and who he had hopes for. So they're all going to die.
Well, that's nice.
That's what they're doing. So we go to Aelin's point of view, and she thinks, like, she's acting like she has power and bravado, which we already know. And this is like a dance, and her fire is actually mostly color and light, but they still avoid it because they're afraid of it because they're Valg. And she doesn't know if they'll outright kill her or enslave her, but at least the keys are gone, so it's not like they can bring Valg over willy-nilly to throw into her. So that's good.
Yeah.
She tells Erawan that Maeve wants her, Aelin, to wear him down so that the healers can finish him off. And Erawan kind of isn't buying it, but then he looks above and he looks to Maeve and he says there are healers in the castle. And Maeve's just like, of course there are.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah.
It's actually,
that's what happens.
It's actually a pretty dumb move on Erawan's part. It's like, how long have you been in this realm? Like, you know that you should know that there are healers. You know what I mean?
Well, especially like I don't know. I guess I assume that he would recognize the Cogan soldiers as people from the southern continent, and then he'd be like, also near there are healers, so maybe they brought healers. Like,
I don't know if I would go that far.
But he knows that he's killed most of the healers in this world, in this continent, not this world, in this continent. So, like, I guess it could be a surprise that there are healers there, even though Aelin told him 15 times. I don't know.
Should I make a joke about when a woman speaks and a man doesn't listen?
Yeah, because there's only two of them.
Should I make that joke?
I think you just did. So he starts to feel doubt, Aelin can tell, and says if Aelin's telling the truth, Maeve is carrion. And then Ilkin grabs Erawan and just flies him to the castle. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? But also, we're like, good, because Aelin can't fight both of them.
Yeah.
So Maeve says, just us, to Aelin. And Aelin says it's how she wanted it. And Maeve says she knows her secret. We're like, oh shit, she knows she doesn't have power, which is kind of obvious. Yeah. So we kind of briefly go to like a nobody point of view. But it's just like the healer beacons Erawan from the highest tower, and then Erawan
the beacons are lit!
To meet. Yes, that's it. That's exactly it.
Gondor calls for aid. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Everything comes back to Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
So I guess the Ilkin drops Erawan right in front of the healer and smiles. And that's it. That's all that point of view was. But it was no one's real point of view. So we go back to Aelin's point of view, and Maeve says she never thought she'd do it, and what happened to her vision in Air of Fire at the end when she's like, I'm going to rule everything, and these people are going to bow to me. Because in Air of Fire, she showed Maeve the vision, but it was actually like a warning that the Valg gave her of what things could turn to if she tried to use the keys, basically. Aelin thinks that she knew Erawan would eventually feel Irene here, and she hopes that Irene's ready for him. Nice of you.
Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah. And Maeve tells Aelin that she had hoped that Aelin would be her equal, but deep down, she knows that Aelin just wants to be ordinary, and now she's just an assassin with a commoner's amount of magic. And Maeve starts to attack, but she deflects, but she is burning out, and she's really feeling it. But her sword, Goldrun, has fire in it, and Maeve says that that's really clever, And Aelin just says it's in case she died. She wanted to leave something that could kill Valg without her magic. So she poured her magic into the sword before she gave all of it up.
Oh my god. What a genius.
Yeah, it's really smart. And it makes it look like she has more magic than she does. So, always good move.
That Aelin, she always got like 10 plans.
Of course. So Maeve says that Aelin took 2 things from her. The keys she sought and the battle she wanted against Aelin. And I'm kind of like, that's badass. Maeve's a girl's girl. She's upping other women. She's not a girl's girl. That's a joke. But it is kind of funny that she's like, I wanted you to be powerful because I wanted our battle to be amazing.
Oh.
So
it reminds me of, like, you know how whenever you watch, like, competitions on TV, they're like, I want to go up against the best because I want to beat the best.
Yeah. Every food cooking competition ever.
They're like, I'm going to play fair because I want to know that I beat the best.
Yeah. So then Maeve attacks and hits her legs, and she screams and falls, and Maeve pushes into her head. And then Maeve whispers, wake up. And she's in the iron box. And Maeve tells her that this was all a dream. And Aelin looks down, and she still has her scars, which is obviously a big deal, and could really fuck her up in the head, I think.
Yeah.
So Maeve asks her where the keys are and to swear the blood oath. And Maeve asks her to yield. And that wording makes Aelin think, you do not yield, which we love.
Yeah.
And Maeve says she wishes to be free of her crown and the decisions and sacrifices. And Maeve swears that Aelin can be free if she does this. Gives the blood oath. Which, I like.
I know, a party is like, maybe you should do it.
It's like freedom in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, you won't be responsible anymore. And, like, that is her big struggle.
And, like, low-key, I do think that Maeve would just leave her to Terrasen. And just go back to Dorne. Now, maybe not now, because she fucked up.
Yes.
She fucked everything up for her. But, like, I think if she had done this earlier.
In the beginning of this book.
Yeah, a part of me does think that, like, Maeve would have been like, yeah, cool, go to Terrasen, I'll call you if I need you.
Yeah.
And, like, the only thing is, especially now, like, Aelin doesn't have that crazy wicked power, so, like, she's not even as useful to Maeve anymore.
Exactly.
So, like, you're really, it would, it's not a terrible idea.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It'd be a sad ending to the book, maybe.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as satisfying for sure, but like,
it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So Aelin kind of thinks to herself, she's like, this isn't real. And then she's just like, right? Like, this can't be real. But she's also kind of second-guessing herself, which is wild. Can you imagine if this all was just a dream?
And you're like in the Matrix?
Well, yeah, it just reminds me of like the last Twilight movie, is it? Where it's just like fucked everyone over for a second.
Yes, at the end. You're literally like, what? At the end. And then it's
what is happening?
It's like, psych.
Yeah, that was wild to watch in theaters.
Yes, remember, we did a full marathon of that.
Day.
We did.
We did.
I totally forgot we did that.
Yep, it was something. So Karen shows up then, and he says that he broke something in her. And that makes her think of the name Nehemia gave her, Alentia, spirit that could not be broken. And she feels the scar on her palm, and she's like, whether it's there or not, it's still there, for lack of a better word. And she thinks of Nehemia, and how Nehemia also struggled with her power and wanting something different. But it didn't make Nehemia weak. So maybe it doesn't make Aelin weak. Which...
I like.
I'm here for her, realizing that she can have grace for herself like she does with other people. So she thinks, like, she can get through this again. If they're going to torture her, she knows what it's like. She can do it again. She thinks Erawan didn't break her and Dovir didn't break her, so she can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And as Karen was walking towards her, she started shaking because she knew what was coming. But then she just stops shaking, and she's, like, resolved and ready. And Maeve looks at her. And Karen and the chains just disappear. And Aelin sits up in the coffin. And she studies the illusion. And she thinks, like, it's always going to haunt her, this place. But she, like, looks at it to, like, fold it into herself and, like, accept it, kind of. Maeve asks how, and Aelin starts walking towards her and says, "You should have known better." And she says Maeve is the one who's actually afraid of captivity. So she should have known that Aelin would find a way. And Maeve's fear destroyed her, but Aelin is not afraid. And Maeve's afraid of Erawan and Brennan and even of Aelin. And it just kind of goes back to, like, my name is long-ass name.
Yeah.
And I will not be afraid. Which I love. It all comes back to that. But Aelin says, "You hurt my mate and the woman he thought was his mate." And Maeve just is like, "Yeah, and I enjoyed every minute of it." And I'm like, "Oh, girl.
Yeah. We're going...
I'm trying to like you."
Yeah, we're going from girl's girl to... maybe not. You're digging... Yeah. She's digging herself a little trench.
Yeah. It's not great. And then she asks Maeve if she remembers what Aelin told her on the beach when in EOA. And I'm like, I don't remember what she said.
So she was going to...
But we do get it.
She said she was going to kill her?
Yeah, I think that's it. But Maeve's just like, I don't remember. And I'm like, ugh.
You probably should, girl.
But yeah. And then Aelin attacks. And she's on the offensive, which she wasn't really before. And she thinks that she's going to kill Maeve. And she, like, summons her sword to her hand. And she strikes at Maeve. And Aelin drives Maeve towards the coffin, which is, like, heating up with her magic, I guess. But it's also an illusion. But she's taking, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird.
But then a lead shows up. And Aelin completely falls for it and tries to protect her. But, obviously, she's not there. Which we all knew. So, Maeve ends up getting her hands around Aelin's throat. And the illusion starts to fade. And Maeve is in front of her. And there's actually, like, just shadows around her neck. Maeve isn't even touching her. And her fire, like, gutters out. And Maeve says she will swear the blood oath, and then she and Dorian will fix this. Like, how are they going to fix it? What do you mean?
They're going to write
I guess
to the princes, and they're going to tell them that they made a mistake, and that Maeve is great, and she deserves Dorinel back.
Yeah. And I guess maybe she thinks that Dorian will give her back her power somehow.
Yeah.
I guess.
Maybe.
Maeve then says she's going to destroy what Aelin wants to save. And then Icewind pushes the shadows back a bit so that Aelin can take a breath, and Rowan reaches for her, and she sees that Fenrys and Lorcan are behind him. And I was like, girl, is this a trap?
It's a trap.
Why are you believing this?
Oh my God.
Anyway, apparently it's not a trap.
It's Star Wars. It's a trap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I really was like, I know I've read it, but it's been a long time. But I was like, are we sure that this is actually them, or is this another illusion that you're getting? But it is them, and Rowan bares his teeth at Maeve. But Fenrys just like overcome by anger and grief and everything, just attacks Maeve as a wolf and like goes for her throat. And Maeve just like lashes out at him and like cuts his face, and he gets up and she hits him again with her magic. And then he turns back to Faye, and Aelin's like, "Oh no, his face!" And I'm like, I guess, but also he could die, girl. I don't think it's about his beauty. I don't think that's our biggest problem here. But he like falls down, and Aelin says run, but then Maeve spears her magic out again and just hits all of them. And they're kind of like covered with the black shadowy magic, and then she can hear Rowan screaming. And she's like, what the fuck? Then we have like an interesting section, because I'm not 100% sure whose point of view this is. Originally, I thought it was Irene's point of view, so we'll stick with that for now.
I will say it was challenging to figure out some of the points of view. Like, as you're reading, you're like, whose is that? And I know we've mentioned that before, but this week, like, the point of views are changing willy-nilly, like, constantly.
Yeah. So, I'm calling this Irene's point of view for the moment. Erawan says he's been looking for her, and says that she doesn't know what she can do. And he says in his world, healers are executioners, and they are actually the ones that unbound the word gate to create the keys. And he says it took all of the healers in his world to make them, but that Irene could do it alone. And I'm assuming she would have to die to do it, or use up all of her magic or something. It kind of implies that. But it also makes me think, so if there are 200 healers there, and she can do it on her own, then if she had help, she could make these word keys super easy.
So could she have put them back in super easy? And Aelin didn't have to give up shit.
Yeah, maybe. Because they were unbound by healers, so they should be able to be bound by healers. That's what he's kind of saying. But my thought was, is she going to have to make word keys so that they can travel somewhere else for some reason? I don't know why they would do it. But the fact that she can do it scares me for upcoming books and crossovers.
Valid.
So yeah, he says that, so she could do it alone. So he wanted to find her so that I could make the keys again, even though the keys were still in the world. I guess he needed all three, and maybe he wasn't going to get all three, so he was like, I can just make more. Who knows? So yeah. And he steps closer to her again, but then he's stopped by a bloody word mark. And then Irene shifts into Dorian. So was it Dorian's point of view this whole time?
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about that.
And then Rook Lysandra drops Irene, who is like... Because I was kind of like, why did we do this elaborate ruse? Like, what was the point of it not being Irene in the first place? But Lysandra drops Irene, and she's already magically glowing, so I guess, like, it would have been obvious that she was being offensive. Like, not offensive, like, on the offense of fighting.
Yeah.
I guess. But so, yeah, she's glowing magically, and she runs to Erawan, and Dorian, like, calls on his healing magic, and then Lysandra shifts into a ghost leopard and pins Erawan to the floor. And Aelin rushes in and shoves Damaris into his gut, and he's just, like,
cool,
stuck on this word mark and with the sword. And he screams, which is ideal. And then we go to Irene's point of view, because I think we were in Dorian's point of view. But he screams even more when Irene gets to him and, like, puts her magic into him. And Erawan's magic, like, comes up to envelop the world, but Irene pushes it away from all of them. And she thinks, like, she has hope, and it's guided everything that brought her and her and Aelin here to this moment. And she thinks her mother and Marion started this to give them both a shot at their futures. And she's like, her mother had hope when she took up the sword against the soldier that came for her. And Marion had hope when she, like, got Aelin out of there. And those two women basically gave them this shot at a future. And then Irene thinks, like, she's not afraid. And her power tears and shreds into the parasite that is Erawan, or the parasite that's inside Erawan, because, like, I think he made this body, though.
Yeah, I think this is, like, him.
Yeah. But I guess he's still parasitic somehow.
Yeah, I don't really understand how she can go inside his... Maybe it's just his soul, and she's, like, attacking his soul.
His soul is a parasite? Yeah, maybe. It's also wild because it's, like, the, like, echo of the Valg inside of KoA took months. She's like, this guy, who's the king of them all, I'll get him...
in a couple minutes.
Immediately.
But I guess maybe, because remember at the end, because it was taking her ages and ages and ages, but then at the end, she figured something else out.
Well, yeah, she kind of figured out that it was alive and it's a parasite and she can get it out. Because, like, obviously, by the time she got to the Coggan's daughter, who was also infected, she got it out easier.
Yeah.
And she's been practicing. Like, I get it. She had to figure it all out on KoA, and he had to love himself before he could be loved by anybody else.
He's the only one.
Yeah. So yeah, she kind of knows that, like, she's glowing with an incandescent light, and she says that Erawan has no power over her, and he says that he's gonna rip her apart, starting with the babe. And then she just, like, immediately puts more power into it because she's like, threaten my baby and I'm going to murder you.
Yeah, fuck you will.
Yeah. So bit by bit, she burns him up, working on, like, his limbs and then moving inwards. And when her magic starts to slow, she holds out a hand. And she doesn't even feel anyone cut it, but Dorian's magic starts coming into her. And she turns into Starlight with his power, because his power is raw magic. So it can become anything. So he can be anyone's Karanom?
I guess. That's what we're going with.
Cool. So we actually go over to Dorian's point of view now, and Irene's power is life. And he gives his magic to her, and he's just, like, holding her hand while she's fighting Erawan. And he says his name, and Erawan just looks at him, and Dorian asks what his father's name is, and Erawan laughs at him, and Irene kind of pauses, and Erawan's magic, like, erupts out, and Dorian uses his magic and pushes it into the sword and asks again, and Irene is just like, does this matter? Because she's like,
it's like, hello,
this is not the time.
I'm trying to do something.
Yeah. But Dorian thinks, like, his father has been, like, wiped off the earth. Like, he doesn't even have, like, an afterlife anymore. So he wants his name to give him a little bit of peace. But he knows, like, he can't risk Irene because he literally just promised his best friend. And he pushes his magic down into the sword, and Erawan says, his name is your own. And it's kind of pulled out of him like he didn't want to say it, and it's because the sword of truth is inside of him, Damaris. So, like, the power through the sword made him tell the truth.
Yay.
And then he says that he took his father's name, but his father remembered it once when he saw Dorian. And Dorian thinks it was like a little piece of defiance to name his son the name that was taken from him. And then, so Dorian lets go of the sword, and he says, I brought down your keep, and now we'll bring you down as well. And they unleash their power, and everything becomes bright, and we go to Irene's point of view.
Yay.
And this part kind of reminds me of that scene in the last Harry Potter movie, because in Irene's point of view, she says that, like, inside of Erawan is, like, a pale body, and all I can think of is that, like, little baby Voldemort in
yeah.
King's Cross.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she thinks, like, the body has never seen light before, and she calls him pathetic. And then she shows him, like, the image of her mother, and she wishes she could show him Marion's face too, but she doesn't know what she looks like. And she clenches her fist more and more until he's nothing but a dark flame, and then he goes out. And she, like, falls backwards, and Dorian tries to grab her hand, but she doesn't need his magic anymore. It's done. And Erawan begins to wither from within, and Irene just tells Dorian to burn it. And she touches her belly and feels joy and light. And Dorian burns Erawan, but, like, doesn't really need to, because he's kind of just falling to pieces.
Yeah. It's like, it's Voldemort all over again, like, flaking away.
So, we go to Rowan's point of view now, and Aelin is dead. What? So...
Oh, I forgot what part we were at. I'm like, did we read the same book? Like, is this a Twilight / Breaking Dawn situation?
Which we've already referenced once this episode. But, same. I was just reading ahead a bit, and I was like, I wrote these notes. Why am I confused? But, so she's dead, her head is shaved, and she's spiked to the gates of Orinth. And then Lyria is there, and that's kind of where we're all like, phew.
It's just a dream.
His dead mate is there, so that means this isn't real. Which is also awful. But Lyria says that he brought this upon himself, and he brought it upon her too. Which, like, is something he's going to have to talk to his therapist about, because, like, I don't think she's wrong.
No.
Which is, yeah, it's not great. And Lyria asks if he would pick Aelin over her. And it's just, like, a super traumatic moment. Which we just completely brush past later. Like, he never talks about how awful this moment was.
No, he does not. Because, like, yes, he would.
Yeah.
Which is the unfortunate part. Like, yeah. He would pick Aelin over her, and, like, she was pregnant with his child, so, like, it's sort of like, yee!
And Aelin would pick Lyria over herself, because she's a self-sacrificing bitch. But it's just, yeah, it's hard. But we immediately go to Fenrys' point of view then. And Connell is smirking at him and saying that it's his fault. And Fenrys says he's sorry, but he's in wolf form, so he can't actually say the words. Even though, like, when it actually happened in what I'm calling real life, but earlier in this book, they had, like, a secret wolf language that they could talk to each other, even in their wolf form. But at this point, he's like, I can't say what I'm saying. And I'm like, immediately, you should know something's up. But Connell says that Fenrys took everything he wanted. And then he asks if he even mourned him. And he can't, like, Fenrys can't say what he needs to say to Connell. And Connell is now dead and suffering because of him. And he's, like, really spiraling. Like, Rowan is spiraling too. But Fenrys, it seems worse, because deep down it's actually real. Like, at least for Rowan, he hasn't. That was so... I can't.
Very Newfoundlander of you.
It was, yeah. He hasn't actually, like, seen Aelin die. But Connell has played out this moment. And we assume played it out in nightmares, like, and just replayed it in his head. So, like, it probably feels like one of those times to him. But it seems like it's hitting him much harder. Well, I can't really say much harder, because we go to Aelin's point of view now. And this is one of those ones, how many times will we say it? But it skips from point of view to point of view.
Over like and that. Over and over.
So we're in Aelin's point of view, and she can't stand it because Rowan is screaming, Fenrys is sobbing, and Lorcan is just silent and staring out. And she's like, none of these are good things. So Maeve says, do you see what I can do? And Aelin can't stand it. And Maeve's power is the same as the prince's. Which, like, if you think of, I guess, air of fire.
How did we not make that connection?
To what?
Like, that Maeve's power was just like the prince's.
Because...
Did she just not... I'm wondering, like, did she just not show it in Empire of Storms?
I don't think she did, and she only started showing it in the beginning of this one, but she would, like, create illusions that weren't real. Like, the thing she's doing for Rowan, she's not just showing them nightmares,
yes.
Which is what the princes did.
Yes, you're right.
So it's still, like, I guess she's showing she's more powerful because she can create terrible illusions, but it is kind of confusing.
But it is also, like, might not be their... like, you could safely say that it is feeding on their deepest, like, regrets and grief.
Yes.
Like, and seeing Aelin dead is a nightmare for him.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, he feels this overwhelming guilt for Lyria.
Mm-hmm.
So,
of course.
You know what I mean? So it is sort of, you're right, in the same vein as the princes. And I'm just shocked that we haven't sort of made the connection.
I don't think that the readers saw her power before now.
Right.
I don't know if other people did. It does make me think about, spoiler alert for ACOTAR, do we think that this is what Rhys's powers are?
I don't know. Because,
right?
like, I understand that, I understand that there's, like, intention, like, there are intentional similarities.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that they completely did sort of, like, similar species, sort of similar, like, they do have similar magic sort of structures.
Yeah.
But, and now maybe I'm wrong, apart from the magic, I don't see similarities between Rhys and Valg. And, like...
But, so, I guess 2 parts to it. I can see similarities between him and someone like Maeve, I guess. Because, like, she's just trying to live her life. And, like we've said time and time again, she's a girl's girl when you're not in her way.
Yeah.
So, like, but, and I can almost even see a similarity between him and Erawan, because Erawan's like, I just want my brothers to be here. Yeah, so I can see a similarity between Rhys and Erawan if you think, like, if Rhys was separated from Cassian and Azriel in a separate world, he would do everything possible to bring them to him.
Yeah, but I also don't think he would, like, destroy an entire realm just for destruction's sake.
I don't think so
he
either.
would torture an entire race of people just for destruction's sake.
No,
just because it's fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, now I can't... And I'm not gonna lie. I don't even think, like... Do I think, like, maybe Amarantha and Hybern would do that? Maybe.
Yes.
Right? But they're also evil in their own right.
Yeah. But I don't think Maeve would either.
I don't think Maeve would either. She's not trying to, like, wipe out the entire race of, the entire, like, population of this world.
No, but her people fear her, whereas Rhys's people love him.
Yes.
But then the other thing is the magic as similar as we think it is? Because his magic, he goes into people's minds, but he doesn't just show them their nightmares. He can show them
whatever he wants.
Yeah. So has he just evolved past is he a Valg descendant of some kind and mixed in with other kind of magic that made him less evil?
Murdery?
Yeah. It doesn't sound exactly the same.
No, it doesn't. Magic. But, like, there are people that are gonna die on that hill.
Oh, and I'm sure eventually we're gonna figure it out, because there's more books coming, and there's gonna be, like, something happening that we'll figure out why Rhys is the way Rhys is.
Pieces.
Reese's Pieces. But yeah, it just seems like... Although I am trying to think of the books, and it has been a hot second since I've actually reread or re-listened to ACOTAR. But is there a moment where he shows someone something good? He shows people memories and stuff that he wants them to see.
But I feel like most of his magic is not super showing them. To me, it's more he goes into their mind and reads their thoughts.
Yeah.
Or, like, plants memories there. Like, I don't see his magic. He doesn't... I don't remember a moment when he, like, put an image in front of someone.
Well, other than, like, when him and Feyre are like, show me what happened, and then
yeah,
they literally,
but that's
play by play.
But that's a memory, right? To me, that's not... Yeah. That's not making something up.
No. I guess the only thing that... like, I can think of is in the first book when they're under the mountain and that one guy was trying to get away and then he, like, breaks his mind and turns it to goo. It's like, how does he actually do that? Does he break his mind by doing something like this?
Yeah.
Because we don't really know. And just the way that they talk about, like, the power going in... I get that there's similarities, but there are differences too, and it's just interesting. It does make me wonder too, because, like, some of, like, the quotes that are really big in ACOTAR, or one of the quotes that's really big in ACOTAR, comes up at the end of this book, and I'm like, did she just have, like, a certain number of really good ideas and just put them in both books? Because she didn't know that they would blow up and then we'd be, like, doing podcasts about them.
That's what I wonder. I wonder if, okay. Oh, dear God.
I know, sorry. We've
gone so far off. But when she started writing these books, I do not think she at all had a plan for crossovers.
No.
At all. And you could disagree with me if you want to disagree with me. But I really don't think that she had that intention.
Yeah.
So, in my mind, maybe she just liked her idea. She liked the species she created and saw sort of two different storylines.
One good and one evil.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But, no, I'm serious, yeah.
And, like, I don't know, maybe, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, like, I don't see a connection to them other than it's the same author and she's just writing because she's writing similar stuff because she has that idea. The same way that you know for a fact when you read a Nora Roberts book, it's going to follow the exact same thing the entire time. And then it's just a different set of characters every single time. So, like, I just feel like it's that sort of a vibe. Like, she's literally written 3 books about fae people that all sort of have similar characteristics and similar powers. So, like, I just feel like she likes writing about that species of people.
Yeah.
And, like, there's only so much you can do with the powers.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that in the future she's not going to make a connection, though.
No.
Yeah. It just means, that you think that it wasn't intentional originally, is what you're saying.
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I guess we're in the good guys part on this side, so we're seeing what happens when a Valg uses their power against the good guys. So it would be interesting to see Rhys use his power against somebody but be on the other side. Because we don't often get that, where we're on the side of the person that, like, he's using his power on.
Yeah.
But then again, like, oh God, this is a tangent that we cannot get into.
Okay.
But so they brought Feyre back with a drop of each of the High Lord's powers.
Yes.
If he isn't originally supposed to be a High Lord, how were they able to bring somebody back with his power? Or, like, I guess we now know there was a Dawn Court. I just don't understand this magic of, like, being able to use the power of all the High Lords to, like, bring somebody back if now one of the courts doesn't exist. Or, like, he got plucked in later. Like, it just seems... Was that written and then afterwards other shit was decided so that, like, it doesn't really make sense anymore because it's not all the courts now that we've read all the SJM multiverse. But we can't get into that.
Nope.
That is too much.
Too much.
So yeah, Maeve's power is the same as the prince's. And Aelin doesn't have any fire left. And Maeve says that she has nothing to bargain with except herself, which was obviously, like, where she was going with this the whole time. And she's like, now you're going to swear me the blood oath is what she's hoping for. So we go to Lorcan's point of view. And Aelin is there, and she says that he's nothing, and they're in front of a city that he thinks would have been his home. And Aelin calls him a bastard born and says that she won't sully herself with him. And he says that he thinks that she's his mate, which is wild. And he says that... No, she says he doesn't deserve a mate. And he thinks that... He kind of thinks, like, this can't be real because of, I guess, how their relationship was. But then he also thinks, like, he deserves this. So he's having a hard time, too. So then we go back to Aelin's point of view. And Maeve says, pity about Gavriel. And Aelin's just like...
You bitch.
Yeah, she's also like, what? Because she didn't know that Gavriel died. And Maeve says that he fell defending his cub. Which is, like, I thought the whole point was to keep Aideen a secret as the child. But
I guess
they did a poor job.
She knew anyway.
Yeah. And Aelin, I guess, realizes it's true, and Maeve says she couldn't save him, but she can save the rest of them. So Aelin throws Gladriel, but my note says throws Gavriel, which is just stupid. But she throws her sword at Maeve. Not the full human, full Fae male. But the sword just misses her and lands in the snow next to her. And then she throws her magic at the boys and starts branding their shoulders. And we go back into their points of view. So Rowan's point of view, he's just, like, spiraling. He's like, she's dead, and Lyria tells him he deserves this and he doesn't want to live. And then he feels his shoulder burn, and he knows it's a flame, but he can't see a wound, and he thinks it's a lifeline and an anchor. And he thinks of Aelin, who knew suffering like he did, who was shown peaceful lives but chose him, and he realizes this is an illusion. So we're like, yeah. And he thinks, like, Maeve did this to him before by fucking up his memories and thoughts in his head.
Mm-hmm.
But he won't let her take Aelin. And then we go to Lorcan's point of view. And he roars through the brand, and Maeve is before them and spears for him again. And this is, I guess, your worst part of this book.
Yeah.
But he's in a new vision now, and Aelin is old. And I actually love this. I think it's like his acceptance of this is just like so heartwarming to me.
I hate this.
I know. But Aelin is old in a bed, and she says this is a truth he can't outrun. And his hand against hers is young, and hers is old. And he says, please. And his heart hurts, and he, like, digs his hand into his chest, and he thinks life is pain, and he sees the pain in Elite's face. But then he thinks, like, their life was also so good together. And, like, he really has a moment of, like, accepting that, like, yeah, she's gonna get old, but before she gets this old, I'm gonna have, I don't know, what is a human life in this world? 70, 80 more years with her? Like, think of all of that good. Like, he really has a turnaround moment from, like, the curmudgeon-y old man that we've always known him as. Kristen hates it. And then he pushes into his shoulder where he's being branded, and he thinks he's not frightened of this, which I just love. I love that we get this moment, because you don't often get this in a book. Like, there was the Clockwork Angel series kind of does this moment.
Yeah.
But you don't often see the, like, happily ever after, I put that in quotation marks that nobody can see, of
the immortal person and the non-immortal person living happily for their days. Usually there's
Exactly.
always a scenario that either removes their immortality and they age like a human, or the human becomes immortal and then they can live out their time together.
Or they're just like, goodbye.
Yes,
like,
yeah, they go their separate ways, yeah.
No, but I also mean, like, they're together and the book ends, and you're like,
yeah, you don't
how's
see,
that gonna work?
Yes, you don't see them as a couple, as the old person and the young person.
Like, one book that's kind of decent with it is actually Discovery of Witches. Remember?
Yes, I do remember how that one ends.
Yeah, so, like, he's like, I will just look older.
Yeah, so he ages with her, but then in the end, she's a human and he's a vampire, so, like...
Oh, yeah, he'll just kill himself.
He'll just revert back to his...
Or he could, you know, he could just kill himself after when she's at her end. But yeah, I don't know, I like the acceptance of it. But yeah. So, we go to Fenrys' point of view, and Connell dies over and over again. And he thinks it should have been him, and he wonders, like, if he jumps into the river with his brother in his arms, will he die quickly? And then he thinks he doesn't really deserve a quick death. And then he feels a burn in his arm, the same burn that the other two have felt, and have been like, yes, an anchor, I'm getting out of this. And he just thinks that he deserves that pain too, and he hopes it will destroy him. So, like, it's not helping him out of this.
No.
Pain is not what he needs. Which, like, what else is she going to do? Nothing.
Yeah.
So, it's just unfortunate.
But he's still so deep in his grief, right? He doesn't have a good memory to, like, sort of pull him out of this right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, he's just had, like, terribleness after terribleness after terribleness. Like, the only good thing is that Aelin has taken him with her. You know what I mean? Like,
into a war.
Yeah.
Like, it's still, and now they're on a battlefield.
Yeah.
It's like, yay!
So, yeah, I feel like this is not... He's not living his best life right now, and he's not in the best place emotionally. So, I don't know, like, I think him getting hurt is just like, yes, I need the pain.
Yeah. I really do think that it would be hilarious to, like, give everybody a therapist in this world and see, like, how it went.
Yeah.
Like, I want that, like, I want that on TikTok, like, a therapist to go through and be like, and this happened to you? And, like, give their recommendations and shit, because I think it'd be great. But anyway, so we go to Aelin's point of view, and Maeve just asks if that was a shield or if she was trying to kill them. And you're like, God, you're so dumb. Like, obviously she was trying to do something. Like, it's just like, why are we intentionally making Maeve seem dumb in this instance? Because, like, she has to know better that, like, Aelin had a point in, like, sending her power out to the boys. Like, I don't know. I don't like this dumbing down of Maeve.
No.
But I guess maybe she wouldn't think of it herself, but still, I'm like, eh. But anyway, so Rowan is beside Aelin, and his hand twitches above his hatchet, and he accidentally, in quotation marks, slices his hand. And he, like, beckons to Aelin, and she knows that he's actually not caught up in this fantasy world. He's, like, present in the moment with her. And it's like an act of defiance. Fenrys makes like a sobbing noise, and Maeve looks over, and Aelin slices her hand. And Maeve says, what a shame for them to leave her. What a shame. This is the gay fanfic problem, which is like an issue that came up in fanfiction. I don't know if you've heard about it before, but when you have two same-sex couples in a book, or a fanfic is where, I guess, the original conundrum came from. And you're trying to talk about them and you say she, you don't know who you're talking about.
Oh, yes, the she, he.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So it is hard. It's funny in books, like, you'll notice they just say everyone's proper name a lot of the time instead of saying, yeah, fun times. So, Maeve says that it's a shame that these, I guess, boys left her and became bound to a queen that has no power. And Aelin closes her hand around Rowan's and says that she may not have power, but her mate does.
Bum, bum, bum.
Which, like, badass. Love it. Glad that he's there to help. But I wish she had her power.
Yeah.
Ugh. So Rowan pulls her up, and his power flows into her, and she puts a crown on his head too. And Maeve says that Rowan doesn't have brute power that, like, Aelin once did. And Lorcan says, maybe not, but together we do. And you're like, fun. Lorcan being the voice of togetherness. So Aelin then says, other than us, they have plenty, as she, like, makes a portal mark with word marks in her blood on the ground with her foot. As a callback, I think, to Queen of Shadows.
Yeah.
But then, and I just don't know why she didn't do this earlier. But portals just open up all over the place, and she thinks that she saw this world as she tumbled back to here. Not this world. She saw these people in her own world as she tumbled back here. And she and Rowan visited them in the north of Terrasen. And I'm like, if you can portal these people in here, why didn't you portal to Orinth to battle? I guess you need to do the word mark on the other side?
No, I don't think they actually traveled that far. Like, when she opened the portal for the Wolf Fae people, I don't think I think they traveled with them and were just waiting on the outskirts of Orange, right? I don't think you could use it for a super long distance.
But they were in Endovier, and her and Rowan traveled to ask them to help her, and they're in the north of Terrasen.
Huh?
Remember, was it last week? She was like, we need to do one more thing, and he's like, are you actually going to tell me? And she was like, yeah, but she didn't tell the reader.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that that's when they went to go talk to this tribe of people and ask them to help, because she says that her and Rowan went to go talk to them, and that they're in the north of Terrasen.
I thought they just talked to them as the stag, like, escorted them.
But still, if they could do that, why couldn't they get to Orinth by portal?
I'm assuming it was just too far of a distance. If it was going to take them 2 weeks to march there.
But I guess in my mind, Endovier is south of Terrasen, and north of Terrasen is north of Terrasen. So, like, in my mind, they started below Orinth, and these wolf people are in the north, so they're above. I don't think that this part is really explained enough, is the real issue. Like, it's kind of just blown over. It's like her and Rowan went to visit them, and you're like, how did they?
Yeah, can you?
Did he fly? Like,
oh yeah, and I mean that could also.
I guess, but then I'm like, why didn't we just get him to fly all the way to Orinth so that she could open a portal to Orinth and they could just come through it instead of marching? It's very confusing. It's kind of like in Lord of the Rings when when people are like, why didn't they just use the eagles to fly in and like throw the ring into the Mount Doom?
Yeah.
So I don't really know.
I don't know either.
It just also confused me because I was like, she's like, they left this as their like final act, like when everything was going to hell, and I'm like, why didn't you do this before Maeve almost killed you? Why didn't you do this before the boys came towards you? Like, there was just...
Because that didn't cause the most tension.
I guess.
It's for plot reasons.
Fine. So, basically, there's a whole bunch of fae and humans, and some of them are riding on wolves, and they portal in, and as apparently the cadre were, like, running and killing earlier in the day through the battlefield, they were drawing marks in blood, and that's where all the portals are opening. So there's a bunch of different portals.
Mm-hmm.
So these are like I guess there's a wolf tribe that Aelin had mentioned earlier in the book that's like
that I literally
fabled.
just talked about.
Yeah. And
but it's fine. I didn't give anything away.
It's fine. And the Terrasen Fae that had to flee when the king took over everything fled and found this wolf tribe, and they kind of have like cohabitated, I guess, in the north of Terrasen.
Yeah.
Not a lot of information.
In the thick forest under the protection of the stag.
Yeah. And the Fae, or some of the Fae that were in Terrasen, originally came from the southern continent, which is what we kind of got in Tower of Dawn, that Fae used to live there. So, they fled the southern continent basically because of Maeve. Because she came over, she brought her spiders. They were a big issue for the Fae, and they were like, we're done. So, those Fae have, like, taught their children and children's children and trained them to kill the Stygian / Cairncree spiders.
How convenient.
And also, they hate the Iron Teeth witches who weren't kind to Fae that were stuck in animal form when magic stopped. So, Aelin lets out like a flare of light. I just think that this whole explanation shouldn't have been mid-battle when I don't want to pay attention to it. I think it should have been like given to us before or something, because I'm like, who are these people? I don't care. Aelin's in the middle of like, she's in her face off with Maeve. I don't want to hear about this right now. It was kind of my issue. But Aelin lets out a flare of light as her signal, and she thinks like the Fae only asked to return home to Orinth. In return, they agreed to fight. And the lost Fae of Terrasen and the wolf tribe charge and just like immediately are killing the spiders. The spiders have like no chance against them, and I'm like, this seems wild.
Well, considering they were so like, oh, the Stygian spiders, oh, they're Val princesses, oh, everyone's in shit, there's only 6 of them, but oh, you're in for it, and then it's like, it's not actually that big a deal for these guys.
Yeah, and I'm like, you'd think there would be a difference between the spiders and then the spiders with the princesses in them. But nope, they're just killing them. And I was like, oh, okay. Never gonna have to worry about them, and we don't. So Fenrys is still in Maeve's hold, and Aelin pulls on her blood oath with him and tells him to look at her. And Maeve says they think they can finish her off, and that they're the ones that she wronged the most. And Aelin says, "Look at me again," to Fenrys, and is like kind of just ignoring Maeve at this moment. And his eyes kind of clear, and she blinks 4 times. "I am here. I am with you." Which I love a callback to this, because like the blinking was such a like strong, heartfelt moment in this book. And Maeve asks if they know what a vowed queen does. And she says that she's vast and eternal as the sea, and Aelin believes she's a god killer, but what are the gods but vain creatures that her human mind can't comprehend? And Maeve says that she is actually a god. And Aelin blinks at Fenrys over and over, and they all start to like rally their powers, and she blinks 4 times again and again, and we go to Fenris's point of view. And a queen says, "I am here, I am with you." And he goes between illusions of like that happening when Connell died and in the present moment. And he sees Maeve, and he sees Fae and wolves, and he thinks the plan worked, because he knew about the plan and we didn't. And Aelin blinks at him, and he blinks yes. And then she moves her eyes towards something, and he immediately understands. And then we go to Aelin's point of view. And she says together. And they throw their magic at Maeve, but she's ready and shields. And then Maeve gets pushed back, and Aelin says that she hasn't wronged her and Rowan the most at all, but he has a score to settle with you. Ooh. And I know, Maeve goes to turn, but Fenrys winnows and stabs her in the back through the heart. So I said Aelin's point of view again, but I think I was already in it. But maybe we went to Fenrys's for a second. Hard to tell. Maeve bleeds black blood, and she just tells them to take the sword out. And Aelin asks if Lorcan has anything to say, and he says, "Long live the fairy queen of the West." So Aelin. Mm-hmm. And Maeve snarls, and there's nothing human in it, and it's Val. And she says she'll go anywhere they choose if they, like, let her live and take the sword out. And Aelin lets go of Rowan's hand, and his magic is gone, but she has so much power of her own strength, that has nothing to do with her actual fire magic, but is the reason that her mother called her Fireheart. Which is so sweet, but I'm also like, I wish she had her power. So Aelin offers a fiery hand to Maeve and says she came to escape a world and husband she did not love, and Maeve agrees. And Aelin says that she loves this world, and Maeve says yes in the way that she can love things. Which is a quote from something, isn't it? In the way that I can love. Didn't we read something? I'm gonna have to think about that. I can't remember.
Don't know.
We'll think on it. We'll see. And Aelin says, like, if she banishes her, she'll go and never bother them again. And Maeve says yes. And Aelin takes Maeve's hand and slides something on her finger and tells her to go to hell. And we get that it was the ring. And Maeve wanted the ring not to protect against Valg, but to protect herself from the ring. And Aelin thinks that Alid gave it to her to save her friendship. And that friendship, that love, is what keeps Aelin from being like Maeve. And the ring just reminds me 100% of that Vampire Academy.
I don't remember that.
The, like, spirit users imbuing objects to keep the darkness away.
Yeah, no.
Doesn't really matter.
Nope.
I was
not
just
that
reading
far.
It and I was like,
not that far.
I was like, why is this so familiar? And then I was like, Vampire Academy. So Maeve starts to flake away, and she looks at Rowan, Lorcan, and Fenrys. And, I mean, Aelin looks at Rowan, Lorcan, and Fenrys, and Lorcan and Rowan nod, and Fenrys blinks once, so yes. And Aelin pulls Goldrin out of Maeve and says, which, like, I don't know, I just don't care for this part, but she just says that they're gonna pretend her last words are something worthy of song, and then she chops off Maeve's head and stabs into her skull, and Lorcan says, burn her. And Rowan holds her hand, and there are tears in his eyes, and he's looking at the battlefield as she burns Maeve. And all of the Valg just start to immediately collapse, and the army is collapsing, except for the Iron Teeth, which, like, must have been pretty shocking for them. And Aelin thinks to herself that she knows who brought Erawan down, and I'm like, wait. So this is all happening because you both literally killed the bad guys at the exact same time? Like, I guess?
Yeah.
And then everyone, well, Aelin starts a shout of Irene, and everyone follows suit, and they just say, Irene, Irene, Irene.
Do you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of, like, in books when people come at the same time during sex. Just magically it happens. I think that this is similar. The two bad guys die at the exact same time on opposite ends of the battlefield. It's like when two people have sex at the same time, and they come at the same time.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. So, we go to Kale's point of view immediately, and he is passed out, and he woke up to Irene just petting him. And, like, I didn't know how else to describe it other than petting. Because, like, she's just, like, she's petting his head. So, apparently, I guess the powerful surge of Irene's magic knocked him out. So, like, she used so much magic that he got knocked out.
Yeah.
And he woke up to, like, this petting, and he can hear cheering, and he didn't see any wyverns in the sky, and he didn't hear a bone drum beating at all, and he could hear Irene's name, and he is just in awe of what she just accomplished, because nobody else did shit.
Yeah.
Ugh. So he asked if it was over, and she told him it was, and he thought that now their life can finally begin. He's like Rapunzel. When will my life begin?
Well, also because they met a fucking month ago.
Anyway, so then we go to Nezrin's point of view, because why stay in one person's point of view? To be fair, I don't want to stay in Kale's, so, like, it's fine. So we're in Nezrin's point of view now. So we go to Nezrin, and she can't believe that the army just collapsed. We're literally going to get everybody's reaction now to them winning.
Good lord. to them winning. To the next thing that happens.
To the next thing
that happens.
Yeah.
To the next thing that happens.
Yes. It's literally, it's so long. So, she can't believe the army collapsed and that Erawan has been defeated. And she was like, she saw, like, so the Iron Teeth fled, I guess, when they saw Erawan's army all collapse. The remaining Iron Teeth are like, fuck no, and they go to retreat. Retreat! Anyway, so the Rook and the, Petra Bluebloods, Iron Teeth witches and the Krakens and stuff. Maybe not the Krakens because they're only on little brooms. They chase after the retreating bad Iron Teeth witches. And Nezrin's like, I want to go with them so bad.
Yeah.
But her Rook was hurt. And nearly got his eye gouged out. And, like, lost a ton of blood. So she had to, like, land in Orinth and was, like, shouting for a healer and was freaking out. And obviously, Sartak came over, and he was also freaking out, because I'm assuming she was covered in her Rook's blood and freaking out, so now he's like, are you hurt?
Yeah.
And...
Exactly like that.
Yeah. And she's like, no, I'm fine. So she knew it was over, and Sartak reminded her that now that the war was over, she has to come back to the southern continent with him. I want to say, like...
Dude, give her a fucking second.
I wanted to say, like, what about consent? She really doesn't seem to want to marry him, and yet he's not giving her an option.
Yeah.
As much as I love them together.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so she's like, oh, okay, I'll come back with you. So, like, she seemed to have resigned her fate as, like, going back to the Southern Continent and marrying him. So, we go to Aelin's point of view, and her, Rowan, Lorcan, and Fenrys are on the battlefield, and they stayed for hours checking Erawan soldiers to make sure that they wouldn't rise again. And it very specifically said that they did not behead the ones with rings and collars. So, like, the assumption is that they did behead everybody else.
Yeah, and I think it's just like, what is left? I guess, like, the Ilkin are left. They beheaded them. But are there other humans that just have, like, remember the guard from Endovier that had, like, the iron chest from the iron core inside of him? Maybe they're assuming they're like that, and they're like, we'll just kill them. And also, if they're just humans that just, like, thought that Erawan was right, they killed them.
Yeah. Like, thought Erawan was, like, a good guy.
Yeah, they're like, we'll immediately just kill all these guys. But, like, what I don't get is they are also like, I don't remember if it's this part or a little later, but they're like, we'll deal with healing them a little later. And I'm like, are they just supposed to lie on the thing out in the fields until you get around to it?
Yeah, and I wonder, like, are they gonna stay unconscious until that moment? Like,
I know. I don't know.
And, like, also, I just don't understand, like, if getting rid of Erawan got rid of the Valg, what's left to heal?
Yeah.
The Valg are, like, the reason they passed out is because the Valg are presumably dead inside them.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I could imagine doing, like, a cursory, like, scan, heal thing to, like, get the dead soul carcass out of their mind. But, like, they shouldn't need a full-on, exorcism.
Well, it 100% reminds me of Supernatural, where, like, if you get rid of the demon, if they have injuries that would kill them,
yes,
they're dead. Like,
yeah,
you can't just if they also have life-threatening injuries, you can't leave them overnight in a field and be like, we'll deal with that tomorrow.
You should be fine.
It just seems intense to me.
Yeah. Anyway, so they finally turn to, like, go into the city proper, and again, it's like Helm's Deep. It's like a walled... the entire city is encased in, like, a walled structure. And it's the first time Aelin has been there since she was a child, since she was 8 years old and this whole thing happened. Like, she literally has not been back to Orin since.
Yeah.
And the gates open, and they walk towards it, and all these Terrasan soldiers and civilians, and they're lining either side to, like, line the entrance for her to walk back in. And she sees that, like, the cobblestone path that leads her into the city is, like, full of blood and dirt. So she uses, like, the dregs of her magic that she still apparently has.
What
She's
dregs?
Been on, like, the last dregs for, like, forever, it seems.
Just, like, this moment of her using the tiny bit that's left, she just passes out and can't even walk inside. Wild.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, girl.
But yeah, so she uses it to, like, clean the steps of the filth so that Orinth is clean of the war, of of the blood that was spilled. And I'm like, girl, you're too prissy to walk on blood. What's wrong with you?
Also, that blood is the blood of your soldiers. Respect
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But, like, at the same time, I know that that's not the intention. I know she's doing it as, like, a sort of a form of respect of, like, cleaning Orinth of, like, the stain of war. But, like, that's not how it felt when I read it. I was like, oh, girl.
Well,
anyway.
I was just like, what dregs? We've been on the dregs for hours.
Ages.
Yeah.
1,000,000 years. So the people are like, she steps foot into the city and people are cheering her return. So, like, it's a nice reunion for her. So we go to Aedian's point of view then. And again, we're starting right back from when, like, KoA woke up. It's Aedian now. He's fighting a Valg soldier and when it slumps down.
We need everyone's reaction. Everyone.
Yeah, we do. Every single person.
Okay.
So the Valg inside of it died, inside of the person. And when he heard that Erawan is dead, he immediately left the battlefield and just went to find Gavriel's body. And I guess he brought it in, or somebody else had brought it inside.
Yeah,
and it had been laid out.
Yeah,
Rowan brought it inside.
A certain amount of the way, and then other people brought him in.
So he sort of, Lysandra, like, found him there hours later, and he was just kneeling in front of the body, so they knelt there together for a while and grieved. And, like, he just wished that he knew his father and, like, had stories from his father to reminisce over. And, like, that he could hear about his father's adventures, but, like, now he knew he never would. So, like, that was sad. He was grieving, like, not knowing more. And he promised Gavriel a grand burial. And in my head, I'm thinking, with what money? Like, whose money are you spending on this grand burial? You've literally taken everything to pay for this war. Like, the entire continent is, like, in shambles.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
And they're gonna start taxing the people, and they're gonna become the Spring Court.
Immediately. So they want to. He wants to bury him in the royal graveyard with every honor he can think of.
Yeah.
So they go out into the street and they just stand there holding each other until somebody interrupts them. And I'm like, what perfect timing, you piece of shit.
Who interrupts them? And is it someone that you don't like?
It's not. It just seems like a really odd time to interrupt a couple when they're, like, embracing and, like, sad. Yeah. It's like, excuse me. Like, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's Falcon.
Oh, yeah. It's not great timing.
No. So, like, he introduces himself, and he's like, guess what? I'm your uncle.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is a huge assumption on their parts.
Yeah.
Like, they're literally assuming that Lysandra is the child he's been looking for ages. Like, there could have been more than one shapeshifter in that town. We don't know.
And she looks nothing like she did it as a child, because...
No!
She made that decision.
She forgot what Yeah.
Yeah, she made the decision to look pretty because she knew that that's what got money.
It got her more stuff.
Yeah. So it's just like, she could be anyone, and that part is hilarious to actually think about.
Yes!
I love it.
Literally could be anybody. Anyway, it's fine.
So good.
So he just tells her she's never gonna want for anything again. And I'm like, bitch, have you seen her? You think she wants for something now?
She's a lady.
She's a lady? She's hitched herself up to a lord? Like, she don't need you.
Yeah, well, he's a prince, isn't he? He's not a... It doesn't matter.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
That's even better.
I know. But it's also like, she's a shapeshifter too, and she's more powerful than you. What the fuck can she get from you?
Yeah. Apart from a family.
But she has Evangeline and Aelin And she doesn't need anyone else, including Aelin.
Good point. Not wrong. Anyway, so him just making that promise makes her cry because I guess no one has offered her that before.
Yeah.
Definitely not Aelin. Pretty sure she has, but it's fine.
I guess she's like, holy shit, I have family. And it's like, yeah, but your mother was literal trash. Like, she threw you out because you were a shapeshifter, even though she was with a shapeshifter or loved a shapeshifter. Like, we don't really know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this person you just met, you're going to throw your lot in with and be like, you're my family. When you have the best found family that anyone wishes they could have.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
I could have done without this reunion. Especially right after Aelin is like, and my dad's dead and I didn't get to know him. And then it's like, here's your uncle. And it's like, are we equating this? Like, what is happening here?
Well, so that's sort of the thing. So, like, that sort of makes it even more awkward. So, like, they hug, and then Aelin is just there, and he's like, oh, my dad's dead. And he's, like, he's sad.
Of course.
Like, obviously he's happy that, like, he's happy for her that she's finding, like, a family member that she never had before. Yeah. But, like, he's still like, my dad's dead over here, like...
We literally just came from mourning him. Like, literally walked over. And now this.
Yeah, so... She just looks back at Aelin and, like, holds his hand and says, like... Tells Falcon that she already has everything she needs. AKA, I don't need you, I don't need your money.
I would take his money.
Then we go to Dorian's point of view. And he is sitting on the balcony where Erawan died, and he's just thinking about how his father's name is his name. And he knew that he should start helping people. Like, he's just sitting there, and he's like, I should probably get up and start helping.
His name is my name, too.
It's definitely not John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Are you sure? Sorry, yes, but... I do like that he's like, he's there and he's like, fuck, I guess I should do something.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yes, and he's like, especially all those unconscious soldiers on the field that we just left out to dry.
Yeah.
And he does mention that the soldiers that weren't possessed didn't pass out, obviously, so therefore they didn't get their heads chopped off. They just ran away.
Yes, I guess.
But the weird fae and the wolves chased them.
Yeah.
So Damaris is now, like, stained black after they stabbed Erawan with it. And it's never gonna not be black now. It's always gonna be black.
Because he's cleaned it and checked.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And he thinks of what Erawan wanted. And how he just wanted to reunite with his brothers. And wonders if he would have gone through all of that to reunite with Chaol and Holland. And I'm like, Holland? You don't give two shits about Holland.
I know.
Like, come on.
I laughed at this part. I was like, Holland who?
Let's be honest, please.
Yep.
And then he just repeats the phrase, I am human. Because he asked that again. He asked that before. He was like, if I asked Damaris if I was human or if I was Valg, like, what would it tell me? And I think he asked that to Gavin, and Gavin was like, only you would know. So I guess this is his way of finally checking if he's human or Valg.
Yeah.
And Damaris warms in his hand, because it's a truth-telling sword, and he takes that to be, that's the truth.
Yeah.
And he just thinks, he's gonna make Aderlin a place of peace again. Good for you.
Way to go.
And then Manon lands next to him with Abraxos. And he is looking for the 13. He doesn't know that they died yet.
Yeah.
And she just has to tell him, like, you won't find them.
And the amount of times she has to tell people is
awful.
bullshit. Like, somebody should be warning these people so that she doesn't have to keep saying it.
Yeah. Don't mention the 13. They're all dead.
Yeah.
Don't mention the 13. They're all dead.
100%. I just, like, I feel so bad that everyone's just like...
She has to relive it over and over and over again.
They're everyone she had. Everyone she trusted. Yeah, it's wild.
Sorry. Anyway, so she's like, you won't find them, and then he hugs her and tells her he's sorry, and she just admits that she misses them.
No.
And it's sad, and they just stay like that for a while. And Abraxas looks out at the plane, looking for his mate, knowing she would not return. And it's just like, it's so sad. So then we go back to Aelin's point of view. Like, I'm getting exhausted.
Yeah.
So she walks with Rowan up the streets of Orinth. She's not even in the castle proper yet. And everyone is lining the streets with candles. And I'm like, where the fuck did everyone get a candle?
Weren't we just running for our lives?
Yes. They managed to get back to their houses, get candles, find a way to light them.
Well, just the burning bullshit that's all around.
Good point.
They're just like, this isn't even a candle. It's the finger of a Valk soldier.
Oh, God. Anyway, so she reaches Darrow at the gates with Evangeline. And Darrow doesn't seem happy. And Aelin, like, legit thought that he would deny her entry into the castle. Because he did say that he would do that.
Yeah.
He said, you are not allowed to come to the city and not allowed to come into the castle. Well, not that she can't come to the city. She's not allowed into the palace. He said that at the beginning of Empire of Storms.
Yeah.
But then Evangeline pulls on his sleeve, and then all of a sudden he's a different person.
I actually hate it.
I hate it so much.
I almost forgot how much I hated it until I read it again, and I was like, oh yeah, I fucking hate it.
Yeah, me too. I really hate it. I wanted him to have his comeuppance a little bit more.
I don't even care about his comeuppance as much as I'm like, Evangeline didn't do this. Aelin saved the fucking day. Even if we're going to say that Irene is the one that saved everything, because that's apparently what we're saying, even though I'm still like, what the fuck? Like, Aelin brought Irene there. So she's the one that sent her to the Torre in the first place. Aelin orchestrated all of this, whether knowingly or not. She did all of this. And I'm like, for everyone to be like, Evangeline reminded him of his kindness or whatever the fuck the words are. I'm like, no, he just saw she was badass and killed Maeve and should be like, yeah, fuck, I'm no one. I stayed in this tower. I did nothing. Come on inside. It annoys me.
Yeah, I really don't like it. Anyway, so Evangeline pulls on his sleeve and Aelin sees that it's like reminding him of something. And he asks Aelin if it's true that when she faced Maeve and Erawan, her magic was super depleted. And she's like, yeah. And then said it would stay that way forever. Informing him that she has no magic anymore, essentially.
Yeah.
And he asks why. And when you first read it, you're like, oh, he's asking why she has no magic. Yeah. But for some reason, Aelin understands that that's not what he means. Even though that's the most logical thing. It means, instead, why she would risk herself like that. And her response to him is that Terrasen is her home. And he just responds with, so it is, your majesty. So, like, he literally just transforms into a different person. And, like, Evangeline is beaming, and Aelin remembers her order to the little girl in Empire of Storms to win Aelin back her kingdom, and the little girl did.
Because Aelin didn't do shit.
No, apparently not.
She doesn't get near,
She doesn't get nearly enough credit.
For anything. And it pisses me off so fucking much.
Irene, everyone's literally like, oh my god, Irene, you saved everybody. And it's like, Aelin's fucking chopped liver over here?
Yeah.
I hate it.
Like, if Maeve was left and Erawan was dead, you'd still be fucked.
Yep. Anyway. So they walk into the castle, and they go to the dining room to try and scrounge up some food. But she's just, like, going through the hallways, like, reliving all the memories she had there. And then she sees Aelin, and they're finally reunited for the first time in months. And she just runs to him and hugs him. But obviously he's sad about Gavriel.
Yeah.
So they go see Gavriel's body, and she offers dead Gavriel the blood oath.
Before she offers it to his son, which was the one stipulation.
Like, because it's sort of too late now.
Yeah. But also, like, it does piss me off that Aedion's not like, hey, I saw you taken by Maeve and whipped on a beach. Like, are you fucking okay?
Yeah. He does not do that.
No, he's like...
It's fine.
Yeah. You must be fine.
Yeah.
And I know he's gone through a lot too. I do know that. But not by one of the most powerful villains in this book.
No. Anyway, so she offers Gavriel the blood oath so that he would be known as a man of honor and would be treated as such in death. So, like, she bleeds into his mouth.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, he's in my cadre now.
Without his consent. Like, I know that in life he maybe wanted it, was maybe disappointed. He didn't say anything.
No. So then we go to... so then Rowan, Lorcan, and... They leave Rowan, Lorcan, and Fenrys with Gavriel's body so that they can pay their respects and sing the ancient Fae Terrasin songs. And then we go to Aelid's point of view. So this is like the reunions now. So there are a ton of witches around, but Aelid is looking for Manon and finds her. And she sees sorrow in Manon's eyes and asks, who? And Manon has to tell her all are gone.
Everyone died.
Again. Like, Dorian, Aelin, nobody could tell her that no one could pass along the message.
And it's not even like it's that long since she just told Dorian. Like, it's probably the same day, within hours even. And she now needs to tell another person.
But, like, you would also think that, like, everybody would be talking about how the 13 sacrificed... Like, you would think that this would be hot goss.
Well, and also... Oh, I don't think that happened yet. Never mind.
All right.
It happens in a little bit. But okay. I agree.
Okay. Anyway, so Aelid is obviously also sad. Maybe not as sad, but sad. And Manon comforts her.
I know.
With a hand on the shoulder.
And then gives her the same words.
And tells Aelid to live.
I'm like, those aren't Aelid's words. Those are the words from your second to you.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. Yeah. I don't like how she has to keep telling people. I don't think that's her job. I don't think she should have to. I would have punched everyone in the face.
Yeah. So then she just walks away. I guess she doesn't want to really deal with it.
Fair.
And I guess her and Aelid really aren't that close anyway. So later on, Aelid goes and finds Lorcan, and he's still with Gavriel. And they talk for a little bit. And Lorcan is, like, proud of her that she came up with the idea/strategy to kill Erawan. And she asks about Peranth, because Peranth had been, like, sacked/attacked right sort of before this, and she was worried about it.
Yeah.
And he tells her that since the soldiers collapsed, I guess they had sent somebody, like a rook or something, to, like, sort of fly over and check on the place. So, since the soldiers collapsed there, the people have retaken control, but obviously a lot of people there need some healers, so they're gonna send some to Peranth tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then he asks, it's a really weird, like, moment in the book, because he doesn't ask her things, he asks her to ask him things.
Yeah.
So he says, ask me to stay. And she goes, will you stay? And he goes, yes. And she says, and then he says, ask me to come to Peranth with you. So she says, will you come to Paranth with me? And he says, yes. And she says, then he says, ask me to marry you. And she says, okay, will you marry me? And he said, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Which was actually really funny, because he's not a funny guy, and that was a funny thing.
It is, yeah. It is a funny moment. But I'm also like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, why are you demanding that she ask you questions? Why don't you just ask her the questions?
Also, are we, like, trying to establish that he's funny now? Like, is that a bit? Like...
Oh my god, is she the boss?
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, so Aelin starts to laugh then, because she realizes if they do get married, because she is Lady of Paranth, he would take her title and last name. Right?
Amazing. Love it.
And her name is Aelin Loken, or Locken, or whatever.
Locken, yeah.
Locken. I see the CH and I'm like, Loch. Anyway, so that means Lorcan will take her last name. So that means his name would be Lord Lorcan Locken.
It's awful.
It's so funny. So then he
like,
laughs.
Never mind, can't marry you.
No. Can I keep my name, please?
Yeah.
So he swings her around then, like picks her up, swings her around, and says he will marry her, and he will use the name with pride, even when everyone laughs at him.
It is kind of cute. And also, I think they could have given us a reminder here that nobody's going to laugh at him. Really. Nobody outside of, like, the cadre and Aelin and, like, the crew. Like, none of the people are actually
our core crew.
Yeah, none of the people are actually going to laugh at him.
Yeah, cottage core crew.
Yeah.
So, he says he will, when they marry, he will bind his life to hers, so they will never be apart for even a day, if she would like that. Insinuating that he will magically bind his life to hers, so the day she dies, he will also die.
Yeah.
And she just says, yes, I would like that.
Without even thinking, like, yep, I'd like for you to die when I die. I don't want you, a fey male, to have a life after me, a human woman, dies. I would like you to also die, even though, as an immortal, you could do many great things as the Lord of Paranth. No. Die with me.
That was funny.
Like,
I like that.
I get that it's romantic, but it's also fucked up. It's absolutely fucked up.
It's not, I would not ever say to my husband, if I die, you also have to. Like, no, thank you. I would like you to stay around and, like, be around for our children.
And that's the other thing. It's like, yeah.
What if she dies in childbirth?
Well, his life is bound to hers. A la.
Oh my god, we have a yeah. Okay. So, we're gonna move on, because obviously this is triggering. So we go to Irene's point of view, and she's working on the injured again, even though she's been forced to rest after Erawan, but, like, she doesn't feel like she can stop. And she can't stop thinking about the dark, oily thing that was beneath Erawan's skin. And I'm like, oh, so PTSD. Great. Yeah. And Hafiza finds her and orders her to bed, since it's been 2 days since she properly slept. And Hafiza also reminds her that they will be shipping out in a few weeks to go back to the Torre, and Irene is probably going to stay here, meaning that Hafiza will need to get a new heir apparent. She'll have to train someone new. And Irene just apologizes, thinking that she wasted Hafiza's time. Because, like, Hafiza put all of her time into training her, and she's like, I'm sorry.
And she saved the world. And
well,
she's
this
sorry.
is what Hafiza said. Hafiza's like, you saved the world. And it's fine.
Yeah.
You deserve this, girl.
Yeah.
You deserve a... Does she deserve a life with Kale?
You deserve better than Kale.
Yes.
Go get one of the hunky fae men.
Caution. No, freaking Caution, man.
He's fine. I'm like,
cute.
go get with Fenrys. Like,
oh, that too.
Go get with
or Rolf.
Vaughn or Rolf or the silent assassin buddy. Like, there are so many options.
Ansel of Briarcliff.
Yeah.
Any of the witches.
Yes. Petra, she needs someone to love her.
Petra, yes. Yeah.
Guys.
Anyway, it's too late. She's already pregnant.
Well, it's not too late.
Anyway. So Hafiza just reassures her that, like, no, you saved everybody.
It's fine.
It's fine. And just says, like, no matter how much time passes, you will always have a place at the Torre, which is nice.
Yeah, it is nice. Especially since Kale might turn on a fucking dime and hate her for her magic. So, like, she needs a place to go.
God only knows. But then Irene actually suggests that maybe she could open a Torre here in Aelin to replenish what Erawan destroyed and teach the children that may not know they have the gift. And that just makes me think, Hafiza likes that idea. But I feel like we're going on a lot of tangents, but I just can't help it. So it gave me an idea. Like, do you think that because Erawan, like, wiped out a bunch of magic users, do we think that magic is now just going to slowly disappear? Or do you think magic is going to reappear in people's veins, like, randomly because that's how magic works? Like, is magic and therefore there's no rhyme or reason to it, so, like, people are going to be born, they're going to have magic even though the parents might not have it? Or do we think that because he killed so many people with magic that the new generations are not going to have magic because there's not as many people with magic having babies?
So, multiple answers.
Okay.
So, Dorian got magic, but his dad didn't have it.
Truth.
So, I think there's a possibility that it could either skip generations, because he is in a magical line. It's just his dad didn't get any power. So there is a possibility that, like, those type of people that didn't have magic and then magic disappeared, they could still have magic babies because they have it in their past. But also, with all of the new Fae around, they're going to start breeding with people. And
that's true.
There's going to be more magic brought in, I think.
Okay.
So I think it's a double whammy. I think they'll get back.
Okay. Great. Thank you for answering that question. So, it feels like a Q&A.
I know. I'm always like, I have an answer, and I'm like, it could be absolute bullshit, but this is what I believe, so I'm going to say it with authority.
I love it.
Yeah.
So we move on to Manon, and she can't sleep.
She has to tell 15 more people that 13 are dead.
Her closest friends have died.
Yeah.
So Bronwyn comes to her with final numbers of, like, how many witches died. And apparently it's bad, but not as bad as it could have been. But we don't get an actual number.
Yeah.
So Manon tells Bronwyn, Glenys, and Petra that they're going to collect their dead tomorrow and burn them at moonrise, which is their custom. And Glenys then suggests that after that they should all go home to the wastes together. And Manon tells them that she can't because of the curse, because she doesn't know the curse is broken.
Yeah.
But they show her a flower that grew from the wastes that a group of Krakens brought with them when they showed up late. Like, showed up, wrong time. Sorry.
It's all over. Oops.
What? We missed it? But yeah, so they showed up late, and they said, oh, look, there's a flower growing in the waste. So then they all realized that the curse is broken, thanks to the 13, and they can all go home as one people. So that's nice.
Yeah.
So then we go to Aelin's point of view. She also can't sleep. So this is 3 people now that can't sleep.
Because they all need therapy.
Yeah. So she can't sleep, so her and Rowan go and talk to the injured to see how they can help them. And then they just wander around the castle, remembering, Aelin's, like, remembering things and telling Rowan until they reach the spot where Erawan was killed. And they joke because apparently there's, like, a stain. on the stone, and they talk about like how they're gonna get it out, and like maybe putting a rug down, like and Rowan asks like why they can't sleep in the queen's chamber right now, and she wants it clean of Aderlin's traces before she stays there. Apparently, like, she can tell that an Aderlin crony was using it to sleep in, and so she doesn't want to go there then.
Yeah.
But then all the pals show up on the balcony.
Fun times.
All the pals. Lorcan, Elide, Aedion, Lysandra, Fenrys, and Ren.
Why doesn't he get with Ansel? Or Petra?
Or somebody.
Yeah. Or Fenrys.
And
I
don't
just
know
want
if
Fenrys to be happy.
And I don't know if, like, the other Latios are there, like KoA and Dorian and Irene. I don't know.
I don't think they're there.
So they joke about putting a rug over the stain. And, like, they just make a couple of jokes, and they're all being, like, funny. And Aedion warns Ren that now is the time to escape if he wants to, like, so that he doesn't have to be part of this madness. But Aelin... Words.
Happens.
Aelin offers him a place in her court, and he does accept. But she doesn't offer him the blood oath.
No.
So
but it's also
they start...
Aedion being like, you can run now if you want. It's like, to where? To what? He has nobody left.
No.
Like, his is also a very sad story. That, like, he doesn't even really trust Aedion and Aelin that much.
Yeah, well, she did, like... Doesn't she shoot him with an arrow?
She tried to kill him, because he had the double swords when he took KoA. Also...
Yeah.
If he tried to beat KoA up, I wouldn't be mad about it.
No, me neither. Anyway, so they start talking about what they need to accomplish. And it's just the women. The boys don't really contribute anything. They're the women are, like, faces. Bringing things up. Yeah, and Aelin says, like, asks, like, hey, do the old dudes have anything to contribute? You guys have been around for thousands of years collectively. Yeah. Because, like, she's like, you three are ancient. And Fenrys is like, actually, there's 4 of us. Vaughn is still out there, and he's free. And, like, they're like, oh, yeah, Vaughn, that guy.
He exists.
And they're like, maybe one of the wolf fae will know how to find him. And Fenrys is like, would you be okay if he joined our ragtag crew? And Aelin's like, yeah, I guess.
Ragtag crew? You're the most powerful, like...
No.
I know, but he's also, like, joined us. Just as a little group of guys. It is very much like not a big deal, and it's like, you could take over the entire world. Like, we could start this book series again, but Aelin is the king of Aderlin. Like...
Yes, absolutely we could.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Aelin's like, yeah, sure, he can come along. It's very much like a kumbaya, like, everybody's welcome here.
I'll offer him the blood oath.
But not you, Aedion.
Yeah.
You were a dick to Lysandra. Anyway, so they agree that, like, they should make changes to make the world better. And Aelin says, I like the voting thing we did. So we're going to start voting on things, and the people should have a say on how they're governed. So each territory should have a voice elected by the people. And it's like, oh, so is this the start of modern democracy now?
Yeah. But my favorite part is she says, I like the voting thing that we did about
voting whether I should die now or later.
Yeah. You mean the one that you didn't do what you voted for? The one where you didn't get Erawan sent away too, and you changed the rules after promising them that that's what you'd do? That thing where you didn't do what was voted for. That's what you liked. Cool. And, like, I don't even have an issue with the fact that, like, if she did it with all intentions for it to go the right way, and then they were like, nah, we're not taking Erawan because fuck you. We don't want to.
Yeah.
But the fact that she was like, you don't need to take him. And they were like, well, we're not going to. Like, I'm like, but you guys voted to get rid of him because you thought it might stop the army. So imagine the lives that would have been saved if they did take Erawan and the army died. Like, not only just Gavriel and all of the Coggin soldiers, the Rook, whatever, all those people still alive, but also anybody from the Terrace and the Bane army and Rolf's army and the Silent Assassins, blah, 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 all those people. Murtagh would still be alive. All of those people. I don't know. I'm just like, but you didn't do what you voted on. You didn't do it. So is that how you're going to rule?
I mean, it's very typical of leaders. They say one thing, they do another. Anyway.
This is true. But I just feel like that is why I think that scene was not indicative of her as a character. For her to now be like, I liked voting on things and I think people should have a say. That is within her character. But her changing her mind mid-time and like not doing what, like, I just...
Yeah. Yeah, so then Rowan just happens, because this is all very coincidental. Rowan's like, hey, there was a distant kingdom that once did that. And Fenrys is like, I can reach out to them and see if they could come help us or give us advice. I could even travel there and find them if you want. And so that's like, oh yeah, cool, great, thanks for volunteering.
And then Rowan... I did think that it was going to be like, but we killed them. I did think that was the next line.
Instead, they died.
Yeah.
Rowan's like, ooh, we could go to the library and, like, look at the books and see if there are any books on this subject. But we have to repair and rebuild the library and the Royal Theatre. And Aelin's like, we don't have money for that.
Yeah.
And Rowan's like, actually, since Maeve is dead, I'm the Prince of Doranel again. And since Maeve was outed as an imposter, which I don't understand this, but whatever, half her wealth goes to Aelin, since she is Mab's descendant, and half goes to the Whitethorns as the next ruling family.
Because there were 3 sisters, but Maeve was an imposter.
Who made up that rule?
What do you mean, who made up what rule? That it goes to them?
You're just saying, yeah.
Because Maeve was never actually one of the sisters that ruled, so she doesn't own anything. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll take that. Anyway.
I guess they decided, and who's going to stand against them? Realistically.
Anyway, so I guess Maeve had a shit ton of money, and now they're rich again.
Yeah.
And rich, even though he has not seen the coffers, he has no idea. He hasn't seen her tax returns or anything. He assumes Maeve is loaded and's like, I'll buy you a library and a theater. And I'm like, do you know how much that's going to cost?
But he's also like,
it's my wedding present to you.
Yeah, but he's taken all of this money out of Dornell. Like, it's not like he's not like re-putting it into the community. He's taking it out and like putting it elsewhere.
Yeah. So later on, I guess Aelin's like, woo, theater. And later on, she meets Ansel and Galen and Rolf and the silent assassin guy. Isaiah. Is that his name? Isaiah. I was close. Something so. Isa something. Ike. Yeah. I'll call him Ike.
The buys.
She just thanks them for coming and fighting for Terracin. And that was it.
Yeah.
It was like 3 pages, and it was just her individually saying, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like, thank you.
I didn't even know it wasn't you when it was Lysandra. You tricked me. Good April Fools.
Later again, Aelin finds Manon and thanks her too. And like, she can obviously see that Manon is struggling and is grief stricken. And she offers to build a monument to remember the witches and what they gave and sacrificed. And then they just sit together in silence, and, like, they're sort of, like, Manon bows her shoulders, like, forward, and Aelin can tell that she would never do that with someone else, but she feels comfortable to do it with Aelin because they're both young queens with, like, the weight of their kingdoms on their heads. So they're both so since they're both queens and they bear a weight on them, they can sort of be vulnerable with each other.
Sure.
Anyway, so then we get to Rowan's point of view. Like, it's literally point of view. It's fun. So, takes 10 days to scrub the castle and find everything they need. So 10 days post time of death. And everyone is dressed in their best clothes, and all the leaders are seated at the front of the throne room, and all of our main players are there. And Rowan looks at Enda and Selene and remembers their conversation when he told Selene that she was the new Queen of Dornell. And he wondered how many Fae would now choose to stay in Terrasen since there are new leaders everywhere. Like, the Fae can choose to go where they want. They don't have to stay in Dornell if they don't want to. So essentially, Dornell's going to be fucked. So he has been, I guess, speaking to the Cognate royals, like Sartak and them, about how they run their kingdom, and they're sort of going to try and implement a little bit of how they run things, I guess, in Terrasen or Aelin or wherever.
Even though it sounds like a terrible way they run things, of like,
it
all the kids have to kill each other.
Yeah.
Or...
It's very dictatorial. It's very like, do what we want or you're dead.
Yeah.
But I guess they need that right now.
I don't know.
So a trumpet sounds and music starts and a lead comes out first, and like split second you're like, oh my god, is it a wedding? Because she walks down the aisle. But no. She's one of Aelin's handmaidens for Aelin's coronation, which is nice.
Yes.
Obviously Lysandra comes next, and then Evangeline. And we all hear that, I guess Rowan tells us, the reader, that Evangeline had gotten Darrow to convince the other lords to vote to give Aelin her crown. It's all Evangeline.
Did. Yeah, it wasn't the fact that she brought all these armies, she saved them. No, it's Evangeline.
Yeah.
Cool. Great.
Yeah, it's fine. So then Aelin walks down. So then we go to Aelin's point of view. So as she's walking down the aisle, she's nervous, but she's excited. So she makes it to the dais, and she kneels in front of the throne. And Darrow speaks in the old tongue and makes her recite her vows. She recites them, and then Darrow places a crown on her head. And we learned that Aelin actually melted down her antler, throne, and crown.
But
so I thought they had a secret room of crowns.
They do, but I don't think that anybody knows that. I think the reader found that out, but nobody else knows. Oh my god. Yeah, so I'm like, that's something I fucking want to see.
Remember?
I don't know.
Maybe she doesn't remember. Someone should message her and let her know.
I'm sure she'll read it.
Remember, you have a secret room of crowns.
Please give that to us at some point. Because I want her to have her rightful crown.
Yeah, me too. But they did manage to find a master goldsmith from somewhere up the wazoo to forge a new crown for them out of gold from the Barrow Whites. So stolen gold is on her head now as a crown.
Love it. It actually is very fitting.
In the center of the crown, there's not like a precious gem, but there's a piece of crystal that's cut from the preserved King's Flame flower from Orlan's reign, her uncle, that Darrow saved, or her great uncle. So Darrow saved it, I guess they had the King's Flame flower preserved in crystal, and he cut a piece of the crystal part off, not the flower bit, and they set it into the crown.
Yeah, because we saw it earlier in this book in his office. Lysandra and Evangeline saw it, yeah.
So she said her vows. He puts the crown on her head and he tells her to rise and says, "Long may she reign." And everyone cheers and shouts, "Hail Aelin, Queen of Terrasen."
And Rowan thinks, as she kneels, that this is the only time in her reign that she is going to kneel, and she's going to kneel for her crown. And I'm like, did Sarah J Maas just think, like, this line was really good and decide to put it in 2 books? I'm not upset about it, but it does make me wonder, back to, like, the similarities and stuff. It's like, this was another moment of, like, she'll kneel in front of nothing and no one but her crown. Me. Yeah, and him. And I kind of wanted him to, if this was an NA book, he would have thought, like, and later she's going to kneel in front of me with the crown on. And, like, I would have been fine with it. But it was very much like, this moment did remind me of ACOTAR and Rhys's tattoos and his won't kneel for anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so before she goes to sit on a throne, which, like, finishes the ceremony, even though it's not a throne, it's just the nicest chair they could find.
Which I love. It's just so funny.
Yeah. It's like the nice dining room chair. She speaks to Aelin and offers him the blood oath then. And he accepts it and drinks her blood from her wrist while on his knees, and, like, they say a little something, something. And that's it. Because he was like, "Oh, I want to do it in such a spectacular way." And she was like, "How about now, during my coronation, bitch?" And he's like, "Yeah."
He's also sobbing.
Yeah.
He's, like, crying, and then she's crying. And I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
This is very intense.
Do what you gotta do, I guess.
I know. I would be like, please not right now. This is not what I... But he did say he wanted it in front of everybody, so I'm like, he brought it upon himself.
Yep. So, after that, she goes to sit again. Like, or, I guess, goes to sit. But then some small figures, like, poke through the doors to the throne room. And it's the little folk. So they've been helping for quite a while. And they approach and offer Aelin a second crown. And it's Maeve's crown. And she had possession of it all along. Like, since the boats, since the underground boat trip. When they gave it to the first time. But they, like, rifled through her stuff and got it. And
where's the security?
Anyway, and, like, they just, like, lay it down and they're like, "Go on." So she picks it up and says, "Yes, I will serve you two until the end of my days." And then she bows to the little folk, and then everyone else bows to the little folk because, like, they did a lot. And that was being sincere. That wasn't sarcasm. Like, they were very helpful.
Yeah. Oh, they 100% were, yeah.
So she puts Maeve's crown on top of the other one, and they sit together perfectly. Magically. It's magic.
Probably. Probably is.
Probably is, yeah. So she's no longer an assassin or a forgotten princess. She sits in her throne as Queen of Terrasen and the Fairy Queen of the West. So after the ceremony, Aelin goes to greet the people, but she invites her court and Dorian, Kael, Nezrin, and Sartak and the rest to go walk with her. Because I guess that's part of the tradition, is her going to greet her people. And normally she would go alone because she's the queen. But now she wants everybody to go with her because she knows she wouldn't have gotten here without any of them. So, like, they're all really hesitant, but she just goes and, like, gets Irene, gets Manon, gets Elide, Lysandra, Evangeline, Nezrin, Hassar, Borte, and Ansel, and then asks just the women, like, "Walk with me, please." And then the men walk behind them.
I do kind of love
yes!
it. I do love that it ends in a, like, feminist moment.
Yeah. Like, yes, girl. Who run the world? Girls.
Yes.
Anyway, so the gates open into the crowds of cheering people, and they walk and greet them, and, like, all the girls are in front, and all the guys are behind just doing nothing.
Like they did in this war.
Truth. So 2 days later, so we're in Nesrin's point of view then, and it's 2 days later, and Nesrin is still recovering from the coronation ball that was like apparently like a big old party.
A rager.
It was a rager. She remembers like Rowan and Aelin and their first dance as queen and consort and how amazing it was, and they were so graceful and lovely and blah blah blah. So they're currently having a meeting, and Caution is explaining that Hafiza told him their soldiers need another 5 days of rest before they are good to return home. Dorian is also at the meeting, which initially was like, why is he there? But then it's explained.
Yeah, so it was a bit confusing. I was like, I can't remember. Why would they include him?
Yeah. But then Sartak explains why Dorian is there immediately after.
Yeah.
He says, I've asked you here to ask you a question. And he said they found some wyvern eggs when they were traveling through the Ferrying Gap. They were, I guess, abandoned. And a small number, about 24, Rukeen, wished to stay behind and raise the wyvern and train them. So I'm like, do the Rukeen include the birds? Do the birds want to stay with their owners? Or is it just the owners is it just the people that want to stay and train the wyvern and ride the wyvern? Or are they staying with their birds?
I assume that the birds and the riders have an unbreakable bond and they can't be away from each other.
But, like, are they possibly Rukeen that no longer have Rook?
They could be, yeah, but it's not really
I just find it weird. Why would you be like, hey, bird? It's like you're saying to one pet, hey, I'm going to keep you around, and you're going to help me until I get this better pet, and then I'm going to leave you in the dust.
Yeah, maybe they're ones that, like, everybody that they know and love died in this war, and their Rook died, and they're like, I want to stay, because what do I have left? Could be.
Could be.
It's sad thought.
It is sad.
But it could be.
Yeah. Anyways, the point is they want to stay behind. The Ferrying Gap is technically in Aelin, so Sartak just wants permission from Dorian that these people will be living on his land doing this job. Dorian then also assumes that Nesrin is going to be going back with Sartak and is like, I guess I'm losing another captain of the guard. And she's like, sorry, dude. And he's like, it's fine. This means I'm going to gain a friend and a queen. Like, as a friend as a queen. And Sartak's like, actually, it's Empress. And Nesrin is just like, oh my god. She finds it so cringy. Yeah.
Which is
and
funny.
She's like, really, Empress? And I'm like, we've already established this, Nesrin. Like, why are you bringing this up again?
And also, KoA should know, he should respect these people that literally just came and saved his ass. Like, oh, I meant Dorian, but also, yeah, Dorian should know that they're, like, Emperor.
The name of, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He should have known that from
his ignorance
birth.
Is showing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I actually think that he probably does know that.
Yeah. He's just dumb right now.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway, so he's like, yeah, like, the war is over. We're going home, and you'll be my Empress. And she's like, we're going home. I'm excited. So, like, she actually does want to go back to the Southern Continent, but she's very much like, oh, Empress.
Yes, she is excited to go home, because it's where she felt like home the first time in Tower of Dawn. Like, she was like, I love this.
Yeah. But she really does not seem excited the entire, like, about this Empress thing at all.
No, it
like,
seems...
not once.
No, it's very, I don't even know what kind of word to use. But she's very hesitant, and I'm like, can someone check on her and make sure she's okay?
Yes. Oh, our sweet baby Nesrin.
Exactly.
Anyway, so we go to KoA's point of view, and he's got a letter. I love that, like, we're getting all this, like, you know, all this, like, these really big updates, and then we go to KoA, and it's like, I got mail.
And I don't know how to read it.
it's true. He literally has been sitting and staring at his mail for an hour. And Irene comes in and it's like, what's that? And he's like, it's from my mom. And he's afraid to read it because I guess he's afraid of what it says. And so Irene's like, want me to read it first? And he's like, yep. So she does. And apparently it says that his mother loves him and misses him. And that if he lets them, she would like to come live with him and Irene and Taryn and his brother Taryn. Like, and I'm just like, that is quite presumptuous. Be like, can we live with you?
Yeah. Like, no.
It's like,
what?
No, thank you. How about I'll give you a house to rent?
Yeah, you can come visit me and stay for a bit. But what?
It just literally reminds me of Donkey asking Shrek, like, can I live with you?
Just funny that you...
That was my reference?
No. You also did the Mushu reference today as well.
Both Eddie Murphy references.
Yeah.
Oh, dear God. Okay.
It's fine. I just thought it was funny.
It is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the letter keeps going on and saying that she's always been proud of him and she is not going back to Eniel. So he just tells Irene, I guess we're going to have to build a bigger house. And I'm like, hang on. Where are you building said house? Because you're not the Lord of Eniel yet. Your dad is still alive. So, like, where are you going?
He has to, but he's still the king's right hand. So he has to, like, wouldn't you live in the castle?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, where would he be building his house? Because theoretically, until his dad dies, he's the king's hand. So he would live in Rifthold in the castle as the king's right hand.
Yes.
Then his dad dies. Then he goes to Eniel. So where is he building this house?
I guess on Dorian's front porch. Like, well, they have to rebuild the castle, so they may as well build him a little spot on the grounds.
It's like Hagrid's hut, like way down. But
that's really funny because I was thinking of a Harry Potter movie/book as well, but the one where Tom Riddle kills the groundskeeper at the beginning of the yeah. I know. I keep bringing up Harry Potter because there are references that make sense, but I do not endorse J.K. Rowling.
Yes, I feel like we need to say that, but yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, Irene's like, oh, we'll have to build a bigger house. Wah wah. It just feels like the ending of like a sitcom, and not even like a current one, like a 50s sitcom. Looks like we're gonna have to build a bigger house, and then cue the laugh track, like, ah.
Like, guess we'll need a bigger boat.
Yeah. Okay. So, moving on to Dorian's point of view, and it's the next day. So we're like 2-ish weeks past D-Day.
Yes, yeah.
So he finds Kale and Irene in the sick bay and brings them to a tower top where Manon is. And she is still grieving every day for the 13, obviously.
Why is she still here? Why are we keeping her here?
I don't know. So he asks...
Why hasn't she gone home?
Well, we're going to find out now. So he asks her what's next, and she tells him that she is returning to the Wastes. I assume she wanted to stay for the coronation.
Yeah, but have they been sleeping together since then? Or have they not seen each other at all? Because it seems awkward as fuck.
But I mean, for him to know that she's been grieving every day obviously means they've been... And like, Manon did say that there was a point where she couldn't... The part, remember, where I said she couldn't sleep?
Yeah.
So there was a part in there that I didn't really mention that I didn't think was relevant, and I still don't think it's particularly relevant, but it answers your question. So she said she couldn't sleep even though she figured Dorian had procured their lodging.
Oh, okay.
So it did mention that she figured Dorian had found them somewhere to sleep, so I think they have been sleeping together.
I could have used it more explicitly.
Whether they've been
Telling
having
me.
sex, I don't think.
Oh.
Like, I feel like she's probably too in grief mode for sex to be happening, but I do think they've been sharing a living space.
Yeah. I don't mean, like, are they banging every night? I mean,
No.
like,
They've
are
been
they
seeing each
lying
other
together at night and, like, maybe snuggling and
Yeah.
processing trauma together? You know, the normal shit.
Yeah. Anyway, so he asks, like, what's next for you? And she's like, I'm going back to the wastes. And he tells her that some of the Rukeen are going to be staying behind to raise some wyvern. And he's like, I think I'm going to have them as my new aerial legion. And I'm like, what the fuck do you need an aerial legion for? Like, where's the enemy now, bitch?
Yeah, but he needs it.
I guess.
But I was mostly sarcastic. But I was also like, so are you keeping the Rook Riders?
Yeah, like, are they becoming your subjects? Like, who has ownership of these people and these wyvern? Because if the Rukeen are still members of the southern... If they still abide by the southern continent, then technically the wyvern are theirs. They're training them. They're raising them. Maybe they want to bring them back there.
Yeah, it didn't really... And it's not like they had a conversation about it when Sartak asked if they could stay. So I'm just like, wait, why are you assuming they're yours?
Yeah. Anyway, so he's asking her if some of her iron teeth will help train them because they have experience with it. And she thinks, like, yeah, it's only a few days by wyvern to Aelin from the wastes. And Petra and Bronwyn can rule, so she can take a few days every now and then to help out. And Irene's like, you guys could just marry each other. Which I found hilarious.
I do find it funny, too.
Because they're, like, trying to be so, like, discreet and coy about it and being like, what are you doing? Well, I don't know. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And Irene's just like, just cut the crap.
And get married.
Yeah, and she's like, it would be a strong alliance for our two kingdoms, and, like, then you guys wouldn't have to pretend anything. Like, pretend about this whole, like, shit on, oh yeah, Manon has to leave every few days and travel to Aelin to help train wyverns. Wow. Like, anyway, Manon, like, smirks at Irene and says, we'll see, before she mounts Abraxas and flies into the sky. So, like, it's not a no.
But it's also not my favorite goodbye that Dorian could have ever gotten. I'm like, not even a kiss?
But I guess it's not goodbye.
Well, it is goodbye for a little. She's going to the
for
waste.
a little bit, yeah.
Like, I guess.
So now we skip to Rowan's point of view. So it's a week later again. And it's time to say goodbye. And in true Lord of the Rings fashion, we have it's like, you think it ends and it doesn't. And then you think it ends and it doesn't. You think it ends and it doesn't.
Yes.
So Aelin asked everybody to stay last night to wait out the winter. She's like, just don't leave. Just because it's late fall.
A wild choice. Like a wild suggestion.
Just stay the winter. Stay for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And just leave in the spring. Because I guess perilous to travel. But the only one that took her up on it was Ralph.
Hilarious.
I'm like, of course, so he can mooch.
But, like, also, why did he make that decision? It was so funny.
By himself. So he's gonna stay with Aelin and Rowan.
I love it.
Anyway, so the Iron Teeth and the Krakens are, like, have gone. And now they're saying goodbye to the Kagan soldiers and the healers. Aelin sort of, like, has a little private discussion with Nesrin and says, like, sort of just says, like, let's bounce ideas off each other, let's be friends, like, let's send each other letters and talk about our, like, we're both two queens, like, we're two women queens, we gotta, like, stick together.
Yeah.
So as they're all, like, leaving, Irene is crying, and then Ansel and her men depart, and her and Aelin cry and hug before she leaves. Then Ilias and the Silent Assassins go. Next, Prince Galen is going, and he's gonna meet up with his ships who stayed in Syria, and which I don't understand, like, why?
Yeah.
Why? And they stayed with Ravi and Sol, and I'm like, where were they the entire battle?
I don't know.
So Aelin, like, thanked him for coming, because she's like, you literally didn't know any of us, and you came, so, like, thanks, dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was a debt long owed and gladly paid, which is nice. So then Falcon is also sticking around because he wants to learn about shape-shifting from Lysandra, since she's better than him.
Yeah.
And Rolf is sticking around because he's the Lord of Ilium now, so I guess he wants to learn the rope. Dorian, Kale, and Irene are the only ones left that aren't staying, because we would assume that Aedion, Lysandra, Elide, and Lorcan are going to stick around for a bit anyway, just because they're... And Fenrys, obviously, because they got, like, they're in that court.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're going to stick around. So Irene hugs Elide and then approaches Aelin and Rowan and tells them that when they are having their first child, to let her know, and she will come and help with the birth. It's like, you don't think you're going to see each other, like, for that long?
Yeah.
That's a long time. Like...
Well, historically, Faye...
It's really hard to conceive.
Yeah, and she's
so, like,
a human, so she's not going to be alive.
She could be like 97 and finally get a letter. It's time.
Yeah,
she's like walking to terrace him with her like little walker with the tennis balls.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll catch the baby.
Catch it. Yep, I like it.
I'm sorry. Anyway, that makes Rowan happy because Fae births are complicated and dangerous, so he's excited to know that he'll have like a very dedicated, very talented healer to be on staff.
On staff. Fair enough.
So Rowan actually hugs Kale and Dorian. They do that like the one-armed man hug.
I'm also like, why?
I don't know. This is my big thing, and I'm gonna get into it. Just hang on.
Okay, sorry. I'm
jumping ahead. Him and the rest of the court step back, like Rowan, and the rest of the court step back and let Aelin say goodbye to Kale and Dorian. Then we go to Aelin's point of view. So, like, I just don't understand, like, when did they get this close? Where the three of them were, like, the three amigos, and, like, the three, like, the core three. Like, I understand that the whole story started with them, but, like...
Well, I think it's just storytelling to end it where it started. Like, I honestly, I do think that's what it is, because I was also like,
why does she need to have
care?
Yeah, why does she need to have a conference with those two? Like,
and
they're not like the three besties.
Yeah, and for Kale to be like so nonchalant during it, I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was weird. I found it
was weird. Anyway, so she tells both Kale and Dorian that she loves them no matter what happens or how far apart they are. And Kale just tells her they will see her again. And I'm like, no shit. Like, you guys are neighboring countries. You can visit.
But,
like...
It's also just so weird because they were like, when you're having your baby, let us know. She's not the pregnant one.
That's true.
So one part of the couple's like, I'll see you never. And the other part's like, we're going to see you soon. When?
Yeah. Anyway, Dorian then promises they will rebuild the world together, and she thanks them both for what they've done. And then Kale tells her again they will see each other again. And then him and Dorian, and I assume Irene, but they don't actually mention her getting on her horse. So
they
like,
just leave her.
They're so
she's
wrapped up in each other.
She just stands there and she's like, I'm just going to see how long it takes.
Yeah. Anyway, so they get on their horses and leave to rebuild Aderlin.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I'm like, who's been
there the whole time?
Yeah. Are they gonna go home and have to fight somebody?
Oh my God, like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
In the book, remember?
Yeah.
No one ever remembers that.
No, when they go back to the Shire, it's fucked, isn't it? Is that what you're
Yeah, it's fucked. Wormtail, Grieva Wormtongue, or whatever his name is, took over. He took over the Shire. But because Merry and Pippin have been eating Entish stuff, they've grown a shit ton, and so they fought everybody off.
I love them.
I know, me too. Anyway, we're not talking about that book. So we go kind of, yeah. So we go to Rowan's point of view, and Aelin is like up on the tower top watching them leave, and Rowan goes with her, and he just stands there with her, and he's thinking about the ache he has, where Gavriel's name is like set in his tattoo. Fenrys and Lorcan also have one, and Aelin got Gavriel's name inked into the tattoo he already has of the Terrasen knot above his heart. So while Rowan did Aelin's tattoo, he told him stories of Gavriel and his adventures, and like just as a sort of callback to Aelin being like so sad because he didn't know his dad's stories and stuff. So this is sort of like a way for Rowan to like fill in those gaps.
But I'm also like, he's writing a name. It can't take that long. It is one name he's adding to a tattoo that didn't take. And it's just me being like,
we know how long tattoos take. Yeah.
And I get that they're like, these take longer for sure, but he did an entire elaborate design on Aelin's back.
In a night.
Yeah. And he's doing one name. Maybe Aelin can't take the pain. You know what? I'm gonna call that Aelin had to take a break after every hammer, and that's why it takes so long.
Yeah. Anyway, so he just knows like Aelin's grief is gonna take months. Like he's gonna take months to heal.
Yeah.
So Aelin asks, like, after they all leave, she's like, "Would I be terrible if I just went and wallowed in bed all day, and like got to saving and rebuilding the world tomorrow?" And Rowan just says, like, "If you want me to, I'll bring you sweets. I'll bring you some chocolate."
Which
and I know, me too. And he thinks, like, he is so grateful to be here with her, and he can, like, already see in his mind's eye the castle restored and the kingdom back to health. And she just asks, will he help her rebuild the kingdom and the world with tomorrow? And he says yes, and every day after that. And then she asks, to whatever end? And he responds with, to whatever end, Fireheart.
Sweet.
So that was sort of our official end. But then we get an epilogue, kind of.
Yeah, but there's also... So at the end of that chapter, Rowan does say, "Can I give you a suggestion?" And she says, "Tell me tomorrow."
Yes.
And it's exactly how the Throne of Glass, the first book, ends. Is KoA says, "Do you want me to tell you who you need to assassinate?" And she's like, "Tell me tomorrow."
Oh, that's cute. I never picked up on that.
I haven't either. I saw it online.
Oh. Because it's definitely been too long between Throne of Glass and this book. So, like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
And people think they can make all the nuanced, like, connections between Assassin's Blade in Queen of Shadows, Heir of Empire of Storms, and Kingdom of Ash after reading it first.
Yeah.
No way, Jose. No way, Jose. Anyway, so we get to A Better World. That's what it's called, the epilogue. Mm-hmm. It has a name. Nameless is not its price. So it's almost spring. So it's been months.
Yeah. Ralph is still there, we assume.
Ralph is just a permanent fixture and never leaving. So they've been working on trade agreements and making ties with kingdoms long forgotten, rebuilding Orinth. The lost Fae of Terrasen returned, and a whole bunch of them stuck around to rebuild, along with a bunch of Fae from Doranel who decided to stay, even though Selene and Endymion returned. So, like,
Selene because she's the queen now.
Yeah, Selene is busy ruling as the Fairy Queen of the East. Doing a great job, I assume. But yeah, so like even though it's not Maeve's like totalitarian regime, some people still decide to stick around. And then it's like Eelway worked the hardest out of everybody to rebuild. And I'm like, I understand Eelway went through some shit. But like Terrasen also went through some shit. Aderlin also went through some shit.
Yeah.
Like everybody went through shit. I don't think it's fair to say that Eelway went through the most shit.
Well, especially since it's like Eelway kept their rulers and was never overtaken.
Yeah.
It is odd. But fine, if that's what you think.
Yeah, that's what you need. So, Aelin actually... Oh, so because it says Eelway worked super hard to rebuild. Their losses had been the steepest. And I'm like, how? When?
Yeah.
But it... Okay. Anyway,
I guess we didn't see it.
Yeah. So, Aelin wrote to Nehemia's parents and said, I hope to meet you. And they were like, yeah, sure, we'll meet. So she awoke at dawn this morning. She didn't really get why, but she just did. And she thought about how Aelin and Lorcan actually married a few weeks ago and returned to Peranth. Only last week. Since the healers had only then finished with the Valg-possessed soldiers. And they
just stayed in the field all winter, and then when they thawed out again, they healed.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah.
So, they would all, like, Aelin and Lorcan would be back in 3 weeks for Aedion and Lysandra's wedding.
Seems quick, but okay.
I mean, it's been almost 6 months, so that's ages.
True.
So Fleetfoot is also back. I don't know where they were keeping her, but she's back.
She's on a farm or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Which is what they do say. Send her to the farm.
Yeah. She has a bed in Aelin and Rowan's room, and she lives there. She's living her best life. So Aelin gets up, steps onto her balcony, and she's so happy and joyful, even on the days that are hard. She's just so happy. But then she's shocked by something outside, and then whispers to Rowan. And for some reason, he hears it, even though he was asleep, and she was talking the whole time about how dead asleep he was. And she even flicked the blankets off to see if he would wake up at the cold, and nope, he didn't. So he didn't wake up at all. But yet she said, Rowan.
Do you know what it is?
It's the bond.
PTSD.
Oh, I love it.
For real, though.
Anyway, so he gets up and he's grumbling as he puts his pants on, and he steps out onto the balcony. And then bells start ringing and people are shouting. And Aelin starts crying in joy, and Rowan tells her that it's all for her, and we're just like, what? What's all for her?
What's for her? Yeah.
And then it says, across every mountain, carpeting the entire plain where the battle took place, the King's Flame flowers are in bloom. So as we know, the King's Flame are super rare, so much so that Orlon only had one bloom in his entire reign, and it's so rare that he preserved it in crystal. And now she's literally got King's Flame as far as the eye can see. They should probably rename it to Queen's Flame.
They should.
But pretty obvious that the last time they bloomed in that same way was when Brannon did something.
Just something.
Yeah, I don't remember what.
He did a thing.
Did something. Who even cares about him? So yeah, so that's it. That's the end. We've done it. I can't believe we've gotten through this entire series.
I know, it's wild.
7 books plus a series of mini short stories.
Books.
A novella.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
wild.
sad.
Well, there's a possibility there could be more at some point.
Hopefully. Anyway, so yeah, it's been a great time. How do you feel? It's your favorite series.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, I guess, but can't believe it's done.
Yeah.
It is a great series. I do love it a lot.
It is,
I do feel like this was very intense. An intense book. There's a lot to it.
Yeah. There definitely is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess this is going to wrap it up. So, yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, and if you want to share any of your thoughts on anything in any of our episodes or this series, really anything at all, you can reach out to us by email at coffeeandcoread@gmail.com or on Instagram or Facebook at coffeeandcoread and coffee.coread on TikTok.
So next week we're going to be reading a new book, and it's one that we've mentioned on the podcast before as us having it, but not reading it. So we are going to be reading A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. It's got really pretty sprayed, like, bluey teal edges. So make sure to follow along if you're interested in reading that book with us. And if you're enjoying our chats, don't forget to follow, rate, and review wherever you get our content. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you on the next page.